I felt, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the remix. Shut me down, don't you know I get it? Yeah, baby, I will find.
Good morning, Keller Williams. It's 0900. What does the O stand for? Oh my gosh, it's going to be a great day. Peter, good morning.
Good morning. Well, this is an exciting one because I've been sharing it into the different Facebook groups. I don't know if I'll get into trouble, but I'm excited to learn about getting listings because given all that's going on in our world of real estate, the focus on listings is ever more. It always was list to exist, I used to call it, or list to last. But
right
now it's very meaningful, right? So this is going to be a really good morning. And then this afternoon, we've got some good stuff coming up as well with Gary Keller and Jason Abrams on the Value Squared call. So it's a day of training. And what did they call the company yesterday? A coaching and technology company.
Yeah.
So, that's what it's about.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for joining us for Take Command. This is the first one of the year because it's so busy with family reunion and everything. So we'll be doing this every month through November. And then we have we get ready for Tech the Halls, right? So that's going to be awesome. And this is Take Command of Lead Generation, or Take Command of Listings, Lead Generation Edition, right? And so we are going to bring up here with us Miko. Miko, good morning, sir. Miko, I'll just give you a quick introduction and then you can take it from there. Miko is the Market Center Tech Trainer for the Waxman Group of South Florida, right?
Yes, Market Centers in Fort Lauderdale, Aventura, and Coral Springs. 3 awesome Market Centers.
Awesome. And our special guest is Kevin. And Miko, I'll let you take the honors of introducing Kevin. And then if he wants to say something about himself, that'd be awesome.
Awesome, gang. Well, we are here for the first part of Take Command today. And we're really going to be talking about how you are getting that successful pipeline to last you a lifetime. So, Kevin, welcome and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Absolutely. So, as you all know, my name is Kevin, and I just like to say I'm the greatest listing agent of all time. No, I'm just kidding. I am at the Coral Springs Market Center here in South Florida. I've been in real estate now for about, I'd say 5 or 6 years. We've sold anywhere around 260, 270 homes since then. And that equates to about $72 million in sales. So just goes to show that what we're going to talk about today, everything we're going to teach works. And if you're a brand new agent, more of a reason to pay attention and take good notes, because honestly, you know, I believe what we're going to talk about is so crucial and so important that I almost didn't want to do the class, because the information we're going to share is just so good that anybody can succeed if they just stick to the plan and stick to what works.
Awesome. All right. Well, Miko, Kevin, take it away. Peter and I are going to drop out of here and drop some knowledge on them, Kevin.
Let's do it.
All right, Jen, see you in a bit. All right, Kevin, so you just talked about new agents and how crucial it is for when we offer these trainings to really participate and join in. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you initially start that database of yours?
That's a great question. And first, I just want to say, before we get into that, I want to add that, you know, building the database and everything that we're going to go back and forth on regarding leads and building relationships, it's crucial. And at the same time, it's even more crucial to time block, right? You got to set time aside every day, every morning, to stay in touch with these leads. Because I think that what we're going to talk about, Miko, is a lot of great information. And at the same time, it only works if you're setting the time aside to actually do it, right? And basically, to answer your question, how do you initially build a database? First, you got to start with cold leads, right? And cold leads are just people that you already know, right? That's as simple as grabbing your cell phone, going through your contacts, reaching out to friends, family, and not to ask them if they want to sell or buy a house, but just to let them know that, hey, I'm in real estate. If you ever need anything, let me know. I'm available. I'd love to help you out. And eventually, as you start having those initial conversations and you start connecting with those people, they start turning into warm leads, right? And warm leads are the ones that essentially over a period of time will eventually do business with you, right? So the goal is connect with people, strangers, people you know, whatever works, and eventually start connecting with them often. Hope that
I
answers your
want to go
question,
back.
Nico.
You did, and I just want to go back because you mentioned something I think that's really important. Is that you start with people that you know and let them know that you are in real estate. How many times did it take you to let the people you know that you're in real estate before it really stuck with them to remember? Oh yeah, Kevin told me he was in real estate.
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So for me, I mean, my story is a little different because I started my real estate business in South Florida, which is when I moved out here back in 2017. So for me, I didn't necessarily know anyone, right? I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I started from scratch, right? So for me, it took a little bit of extra time to make that happen versus if I had just started doing this around my friends and family from where I grew up, right? Which was
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans. So in my case, I would say it took me about 6 months, right? And again, I'm talking with strangers. You know, the 6 months
Mm-hmm.
that it took me to really get people to start to call me or to realize, oh, he's in real estate, about 6 months. And again, that's with strangers. So if you know people already, it should be half that time.
Awesome. And so you mentioned, you've got all these strangers, they're cold leads, and then you're starting to warm them up. What strategies do you use to maintain that database where they're becoming cold to warm and then eventually we're getting to hot?
Right, right. That's a great question. And I think this is probably the most important part. It's honestly what I teach my team every single day. As a matter of fact, I say it so much, I think I sound like a broken record actually, because the way that you eventually get these people or turn these people from cold to warm is by staying in touch with them daily. I mean, first thing you do in the morning after you finished your prayer and your workout and whatever your morning routine is, you make your phone calls. You open up your database and you say, all right, who here do I got to call? And if you do that on a daily basis over time, those cold leads return warm. And as you said, eventually they'll be hot.
So you've got a database now, you've got people in there, and you're saying you're waking up, do your morning routine. Now you're calling. How do you know who to call? How do you know who you've been in touch with the least, the most? How do you know who's next on the list?
That's a great question. So that it really boils down to the leads needs. Leads needs. I like how that sounds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it depends on the leads needs, right? So for example, if I talk to someone today and they say, oh, you know what, we're thinking about doing something, but we're waiting for our kids to finish school. And that's going to be 3 years down the road. Well, with someone like that, you don't want to stay in touch with them every week because they already said they might not do anything until 3 years. So in that case, with someone like that, maybe you stay in touch with them annually, once a year, until it gets time that they're ready. Versus someone that says, hey, look, we're on a lease. Our lease ends in September and we need to be moved out by August. With someone like that, you probably stay in touch with them on a weekly basis or on a daily basis until you find them a house. So that's how you know who to stay in touch with for how long. And that's how you can kind of differentiate, between certain leads.
Absolutely. And it's great, especially when we look at commands. You can create those timelines through tasks and smart plans you don't have to keep a giant Rolodex. You don't have to keep a giant notebook of notes.
Exactly.
Now, how do you personalize communication with your database to create these long terms? Like you just gave an example, someone tells you maybe in 3 years. So how do you personalize then that communication to foster that relationship?
So a couple things. Super, I say this is just as important as following up, which is and I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but I'll answer it as to how I'm perceiving it. So, in essence, every time you have a conversation with someone, you have to be extremely well at taking notes, writing down everything that they told you exactly as they told you, so that if you put in activity, say you use command, whatever CRM or database you use, when you plug in your notes, and let's say that they asked you to call them in 3 months, when you schedule that date, right, and that activity comes up and you pull up your, that gives you the opportunity to bring up a subject you talked about in the beginning, right? So it makes it look like you're remembering things that you were actually listening to every time you spoke to them. And that's how you can personalize a better connection with each individual.
Hmm. And you just touched on the technology piece, and we've got KW Command and you're creating these activities. How much time would you say you spend just on the technology side, on the scheduling those activities, on making sure that the system's really doing the work for you?
Hmm. I would say, honestly, just as much as you're spending time lead generating, right? Because after each phone call that you make, you should be immediately writing notes, updating the activity, trying to see how you can add value depending on what those person's needs are in that moment. So they go hand in hand, I would say, right? You better be updating your systems as you're talking to the person, right? So, imagine having to keep up with 100 people and you don't have anywhere to keep track of every conversation you've been having with them. That's it,
Hmm.
it would be impossible to scale. You wouldn't be able to, well, there's just not enough room in our head to remember all of that, right? So I'd say extremely important.
Absolutely. Now, when you're looking at your database and all the people in it, how often are you engaging with them, not through phone calls, but through maybe email, mailers, text messaging? What other types of communication are you using to stay in touch with that database?
That's a great question. I personally love phone calls. That's something that I will always preach because yes, you're right. You could absolutely have passive marketing and you could set up automatic texts that go out, automatic emails that go out, whether that's through MLS campaigns or even some of the features that Command offers, which they do offer, you know, um, automatic emails and automatic text. All that is crucial, but nothing's more important than that phone call or telemarketing to them, right? Um, Now, and again, I think that because you're not talking to these people every day, you're talking to them maybe once a month or once every 6 months or once a year. That's when the passive marketing comes into play, right? For example, you can set them up on recent sales in their neighborhood, right? So
Hmm.
maybe anytime something new sells in the neighborhood, they get a notification of it. And sometimes they think you're sending it, you know, you're taking the time out of your day to send it to them personally, and a lot of that helps. On the buyer side, same thing. That's like setting up someone on an automatic search, knowing that they might not be ready until 6 months down the road, but at the same time, every week they're seeing your face. They're seeing your face, so that eventually, when you do pick up the phone and you say, "Hey, remember me?" They're gonna say, "Oh yeah, you've been bombarding me with those homes for the past year. Of course, I remember you." And and you're doing this daily. You're doing this on a daily basis. There's no shortcuts. Like I said, it should be connecting with your database, whether they need something now or not. It doesn't matter. You find a way to add value to them, even if it's just updating them on the most recent sale in their neighborhood, and you do that daily. That's up there as important as anything else. Like I said, as important as praying in the morning, as important as waking up and working out. It's up there because ultimately those activities are what start to make everything else fall into place, right? And
Hmm.
honestly, I feel like this is the part where most agents drop the ball. They're just not willing to stay in touch with someone more than 3 4 times just because they're not buying or selling. You know what I mean?
I think what you just said is so important. I feel like we need to say it again, because I think it does happen, especially with newer agents who are trying to find the models that work for them. They may make a phone call to someone twice, maybe even 3 times. And if they don't get anything, they just kind of drop them and move on. Uh, so let's talk about that? What's the flow? How do you know what is a successful amount of phone calls to someone to really make sure that you put in the effort to turn them from cold to warm to hot? And maybe you don't, but what's that
Right.
number? Is there a number?
So I wish there was. I wish there was a magic formula to all this. If there was, believe me, I think a lot of us would be succeeding. So I think it's less about the phone call itself and more about, are you actually having a conversation with them, right? Because you can call someone 15 times. That doesn't mean that you're getting closer to turning them into a warm lead. You're just trying to get them back on the phone. The way that you successfully start turning some of these people from cold to warm is if you're actually having conversations with them. You know, where are you moving to? Why? What's taking you over there? What's your time frame? What's stopping you from making it happen now? Is it your home? Is it the values? I think that in those conversations, in asking the right questions, you naturally know where they stand, and that gives you an idea of maybe how much longer or how many more times you may have to connect with them until they're finally ready, right? But all those answers unfortunately don't come to you until you do the work and you talk to the people, you know?
So your team's doing the work, you're doing the work, you're making calls, you're staying in touch, you're building relationships. How do you track that success? How do you say we're on the right path?
So, it's funny because I have a very simple answer to this, and it's different for everybody. Mine isn't that very complicated. It's just simple. It's what works. It's what gives me peace of mind. It's what, makes me go to sleep at night, which is what I do is I actually have let me see if I can show it to you. I actually have like a weekly calendar, right, that I follow. And what I do is for every day of the week, I actually tally how many people I spoke to that day, right? So I have this, I have my planner with me to my side. I keep it close to me like I keep my phone close to me, right? So what happens is on a day-to-day basis, as I stay in touch or as I talk to someone about real estate, it could be anybody. Doesn't matter if they hung up on you. Doesn't matter if they flicked you off and told you to die. If you spoke to them or asked them about real estate, to me, that's a conversation, or in essence, that's a tally, right? And my goal is to get at least 20 tallies per day, because I know statistically for every 100 tallies I make, or every 100 contacts I make, it leads to a closing, right? But again, that's me. I know that that's the conversions that work for me because I've been tracking my numbers for over 7 years, and it might be different for other people. But I'm less concerned on whether I got a closing or not that day, or whether I got an appointment or not that day. I'm more concerned about, did I actually speak to people about real estate today, right? Because that is more important than anything else. You do that, you make that your priority, everything else falls into place, right?
Mm-hmm. So how do you use your database to identify these potential sellers before they enter the market? I mean, like you said, you're building these relationships, so you're hoping that you are the agent that they call, but how do you really kind of ensure that?
So I wish there was a way to bulletproof yourself into becoming an agent, but that's just not the case, especially not in Florida, where every single person is a realtor. There's more people out here with their real estate license than with their driver's license, So it's what you're actually trying to do is you're all you're trying to do is you're trying to increase the chance of them hiring you, right? Because let's be honest, how many agents do you know are going to stay in touch with someone for 3 to 4 years? I'm the only one I've met, to be honest. Most people won't stay in touch with someone that long, but I know one thing, what solution, that if a seller recognizes that I've been staying in touch with them for 3 to 4 years, and I'm over exaggerating. Most leads do not take that long to convert. It's a lot less, but I've closed $1 million deals for staying in touch with someone for this long. And here's the thing, it's all psychological, right? When a seller notices that, wow, this realtor has bin staying in touch with me for this long. I've never done any business with him, but he's always checking up on me. He's asking how I'm doing. He's providing value, whether I ask for it or not. You create a soft spot in their heart. And naturally, they're likely to give you the chance to interview for the listing, right? At the end of the day, that's all we can do as agent is show up to a homeowner's house and interview for the listing, right? So it's never guaranteed, but I promise it is guaranteed. You're going to be given the chance and the opportunity to interview with them. And if you practice on your craft and you get really good at doing your listing presentation and you get really good at handling objections, again, you're increasing the chances. The chances of you actually walking away with the listing are that much higher, right? So again, to answer your question, there's no magic formula to how all this works. I wish there was, but you can certainly do everything you possibly can to increase the chances of them hiring you, right? And that's all I go for. You know what I mean? And I know that if I stay on top of my craft and I stay practicing and I staying good at what I do, I know I'm good at what I do. And when I show up with that mindset and they feel it and they sense it, they can go interview anybody else. I don't care. I don't think they're going to come up with anybody that has been as loyal to them as I have, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now, you just said one of the great buzzwords, mindset, right? Because so often, I think in our industry, there are, especially with newer agents, they feel like they need to find and they need that right now business, but you're talking long game. How do you get yourself into that mindset to play the long game?
That's a good question. That's probably my favorite question. This kind of goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, as far as time blocking, right? Time blocking is crucial if you want all this to make this work. But let me dig a little bit deeper in that, right? So I do think that what truly differentiates a good agent versus a bad agent, or a good realtor versus a great realtor, is their mindset, right? If you're already stepping into this industry, trying to figure out how you can get rich in the next 6 months, or are you walking into the industry with the mentality of, oh, the realtor that helped us buy this house made like 20 grand and he didn't do anything. If he could do it, I could do it, right? So if you walk into this industry with that mentality of just making money, you're already, I hate to say it, you're already in the wrong track. And it's only a matter of time before you remove yourself. Because truth be told, if you want this to work at all, if you want this to work, you have to be thinking long term, meaning you have to be thinking to yourself, I'm going to be doing this for the next 20 years. Maybe not just an agent, there's different ways to evolve as an agent over your career. But when you have the mentality of, you know what, I'm going to be doing this till I die, or I'm going to be doing this until I become the #1 agent in my entire state, in my entire country, even if that means, getting objections all day on the phone, whatever it takes. When you have mentality and you know that you're going to have to stay in touch with people forever, literally, if you intend to do this forever, everything else takes care of itself, right? It's a lot easier to stay in touch with people long term, because now you're not trying to get paid tomorrow. You're just thinking to yourself, you know what? I might get paid next year from this. I might get paid 5 years down the road from this. It doesn't matter. I'm in this for the long run, right? So first, you got to have that mentality. And most importantly, you have to keep your mood up, right? You have to keep your energy up. And I don't mean be a social butterfly and try to interact with anybody, because that's not my personality. I'm complete opposite of who I am. So what I mean by keeping your energy up, I mean, for example, things that work for me, everybody has different things, right? But things that work for me is getting up early, getting up at 5, 6 a.m. to go to the gym, facing that challenge, getting your body, your blood flowing, right? That's one thing. It boosts your confidence, right? Secondly, maybe take a cold shower after the gym. Again, not something easy to do. You have to, like David Goggins says all the time, you got to just embrace the suck and deal with it. You know what? Because you're not going to die. And when you go through it, you feel great. You feel accomplished, and you haven't even made a phone call, but that mood you feel, that sense of greatness that you feel, and it's not even 8 a.m., That's huge. And people underestimate that because what you do is you take that confidence, you're already on a roll, and then you go work, then you go make your phone calls, then you go talk to people. And honestly, it's so much easier because you already did the most difficult thing you could do all day, which is getting up early and working out. How many people do that, right? So I think that when you do those things and you time block, meaning in the mornings, I'm going to do this from this time, I'm going to do this from this time, I'm going to make calls from 9 to 12 or 11 to 4, it doesn't matter. But as long as you're following a schedule that keeps your energy high and you're committing to making calls for a certain amount of hours per day, your mindset kind of starts to form. I don't even know how to put it. It's almost like you start to become who you want to be.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I know that's a long, extremely long-winded answer to your question,
No, I
but
love that. I
hope
love that.
that answers it.
So, what keeps you motivated to play the long game, to create this success that you have found in our business?
Wow, that's a good question. I've only been asked that question like 3 times in my life. No, just kidding. So, what keeps me motivated? It's plain and simple, right? So, first, you got to have your big why, right? Like, and Keller Williams is huge on this, which is having your big why, the reason why you do things, right? Because if your big why, and it goes back to what I was just saying, if your big why is just making money or trying to make your life easier, that's not a why big enough to sustain you when you got to do the things you don't feel like doing, right? So your why has to be so massive that it pushes you to face the suck. It pushes you to do what you have to do. And for me, it's simple things like family, taking care of my family, making sure my loved ones have a roof over their head, food on their table, they're well taken care of, my mother, I was blessed enough to buy a house for her a couple years ago. Um, Recently I started getting into investments, buying real estate and building residual income because I don't know about who's out there listening to this, but I definitely don't want to be selling real estate until I'm 80. There's no way. I don't think I can do it. So to me, it's I'm building residual income, right? So you got to have your big why and goals that sustain you for the here and now, right? So again, the difference between me and the new realtor is when I make phone calls, I'm not thinking, how can I close this guy next month? When I make phone calls, I'm thinking, I'm going to build a relationship with this guy so he can see I'm the best, smartest realtor he's ever going to encounter for the rest of his life, so that him and everybody he knows refers me business for the rest of my life, so that I can be a great agent and I can help them, and the income that I make from being a great agent, I can help my loved ones. I can diversify my investments, right? So all my money isn't just coming from real estate. When you view the world in those aspects, I don't know about you, but it gets me to wake up at 5 every day, right? It's like you're building something, you're aiming towards something, you're waking up with a purpose. You're waking up knowing that, all right, today we got to work because this project is going to be due soon, right? So
Mhm.
it's just a lot easier to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back because back earlier in our conversation, you mentioned, and again, I'll just repeat for people who may be just jumping in, right? You start with your database of people that you know, and then you started using the S word, strangers. Where are you, or how would any newer agent find these strangers? How are you connecting with people now that you don't know to create people for your database?
Oh, I'm sorry, Miko. You kind of broke up in the middle of the question. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah,
Sorry
absolutely.
about that.
Hopefully I'm not. No, it's all right. Hopefully I'm not breaking up anymore. Uh, we start our database with people that we know, and then you use the S word, strangers, right? Where are you finding the strangers? Where would you recommend newer agents or even current agents who just need to grow their database? What are you doing to find these people?
That's a great question because I think that meeting or generating strangers, right? I think that generating strangers is just as important as staying in touch with the people you already know in your database because um, eventually there will come a time where the people you've been staying in touch with that are warm and then eventually do sell and buy, they're going to dry out, right? If you help them buy a home or sell a home, they're probably not going to be doing anything for another 5 years. So it's always extremely important to keep feeding your database with strangers or new leads, so that over time, you're even after the ones that have been warm already closed, you already got these other people that are going to be ready soon. And there's so many different sources, there's so many different avenues that you can use to generate strangers. It's not, it's so funny because a lot of these questions may sound very intricate and complicated, but the answers to them are so simple. They're so simple. And I don't know why we fight it so much. The things we got to do is just so simple. For example, you can go door knocking. You can go door knocking, talk to a stranger, say, hey, I'm a realtor in the area. And, would you like a free home analysis on your property? Right? There's so many easy ways. You could easily do neighborhood prospecting, right? That's as simple as if you have a listing or if you sold a property or if you're new, find a realtor in the office that you trust and ask them and say, hey, would it be okay if I call the neighborhood where your listing is and just tell them that there's a new home for sale, and if they have any buyers interested, we'd love to show them a house. You could hold open houses, and again, if you're a new agent, look for an agent in the office that you trust and ask someone, hey, I see you have an empty house, would it be okay if I did an open house? And you can absolutely talk up all the strangers that walk into the home, right? If you don't like phone calling and you're more of a face-to-face type of person, door knocking and open houses are a great place to start. You can, there's so many things you can do. You can send out mailers in your neighborhood if you want to, and reach out to those people and say, hey, are you getting my mailer? I just want to add value. Would you like a free home analysis? You can call for sale by owners. You can call expired, canceled. The answers are endless. It's a matter of just picking one that works for you and your personality and how you like to interact with people and stick to it, right? And find out those people's needs and add them to the database and stay in touch with them accordingly.
So we add them to the database. You just said, we stay in touch with them accordingly. So then let's say we get them from cold to warm to hot and you do a deal with them. Now they're a past client. How do you engage with your past clients in your database? What's your most effective strategies for keeping that relationship going? Because like you said, they may not do something for another 5-7 years. So what does that contact look like?
So, these are actually my favorite. These are actually, I feel like the quicker you accept that you should be staying in touch with the people that you just worked with, whether you had a good experience or bad experience, doesn't matter. You stay in touch with them. If they had a bad experience, you find out why, so you can get better as an agent, and hopefully you don't have to make the same mistakes. But I love staying in touch with my past clients because, for one, they know me. They know how I work. Obviously, they like me and trust me if I got them into their dream home or if I sold their property, right? So that's a much easier conversation to have. And it's very simple. And again, all you got to do is call them, right? Yes, you could be passively and you can send out mailers and you can send out emails, which is what 99.9% of realtors are doing, right? Go ask them how they're doing. And if they're doing well, you just got to call these people and ask them, hey, look, how do you like your new home? How's the neighborhood? You don't even have to ask them for business. You don't have to ask them if they know anybody. Just ask them how they're liking the new home, how they're liking the new neighborhood. Is it what you expected? Or if you sold someone's house, it doesn't matter if they moved out of the area or not. You ask them, so did you guys regret selling the house, or are you still happy you did it, right? Or you could tell them, hey, so how's the new move? Are you guys liking it up there? Do you miss Florida? Do you want to come back? I'd love to help you find a house. Like, there's so many reasons just to check in on them to see how they're doing, how that next phase of their life is going. And in that, believe me, people will refer you. You don't have to tell them you're in real estate. They know you're in real estate. And they know that if you took care of them, they're going to spread your name around. And you can also tell them, like, hey, look, I loved working with you guys. If you ever need anything at all, feel free to give me a call. It doesn't even have to be related to selling or buying a house. You need help with title. You need help with insurance, you need help with a handyman, whatever you need, call me and I'll take care of you. I'm not a handyman, but I know people that are, right? So just again, finding ways to add value, but most importantly, finding ways to add value verbally. I think now more than ever, people appreciate a phone call or a face to face,
Mhm.
right? And I know that that could vary per generation, right? The younger the generation, the less likely they are to want to see you. Um, but people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, which is a majority of our homeowners in our market, call them. There's nothing that goes further than having a good connection with them.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, you're reconnecting or staying in touch with past clients, and then you said, that you're potentially getting referrals. So, what does your approach to referral generation look like within your database?
Sure. So we just spoke about one, right? Which is the people that you already worked with, easiest place to start. And there's this script. I believe it's called Promise, and I know it's taught at Bold. It's something that's taught a lot in Keller Williams, but it's about asking for referrals throughout multiple times through a leads lifeline, I guess you could say, which is if you just listed a house or you just are in the process of helping someone show homes, remind people like, hey, I just appreciate the fact that you trusted me. I don't take it for granted. I'm going to work as hard as I can for you. And at the same time, my business, I grow my business through referrals and getting to work with awesome people like you. So I hope that if I treat you well and I continue to show you how good I am, that when you run into someone that's thinking about doing anything real estate related, you'll think of me, right? And believe me, no one's gonna feel cringe after that. Everybody's more than happy to help you, right? And also, you don't understand how many, you wouldn't believe how many referrals I've gotten from people that I've never even worked with. So, you know how I said that sometimes you might have to stay in touch with someone for a long period of time. It could be 2, 3, 4+ years. And well, life happens, things change, people might not move when they originally intended. So, you can never predict what's going to happen with a specific person, but here's what you can predict. If you're constantly staying in touch with them and you're constantly adding value and they see that, believe me, even if they're not doing anything, if they run into someone that is, they're going to be like, oh man, you got to call my boy Kevin. He stays in touch with me all the time. He's so proactive and efficient. You got to give him a call. So I've generated a lot of referrals from people that I've never even had to work with, right? So again, it's just about staying in touch and building a relationship, which building a relationship, I mean, to a lot of people, that's probably like, oh, I don't need any more relationships. I'm already tired with the ones I have. And and it's not like you're taking these people out to lunch every day. It's not like you're having them for dinner. It's not like you're hanging out with them on the weekends. Like what I mean is you're building a relationship over the phone, right? The other aspects of the relationships come into play after you meet with them and you've hung around them a couple of times and you've did a lot of back and forth through negotiations, whatever it is. But over time, it's just a matter of staying in touch with people and are you willing to do it, whether or not you see results. And I think again, that's the difference between people that are gonna succeed versus the ones that aren't. How committed are you to this?
Yeah, definitely. And so you've amassed, how many people would you say are in your database?
Ooh,
Do you even
I'd
know that
say
magic number?
I'd say all together between I have like 2, 3 databases. Gosh, like maybe 40,000. 40,000. Now, out of those 40,000, I'm actually probably following up consistently with about 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not, whoever's out there listening, if you are, I'm not staying in touch with 40,000 people. That'd be crazy. I'm following up with 1,500, but like I said, constantly generating new leads should never end, ever. I don't care if you sold 100 homes, one home, or a million homes. New leads should always keep coming in. And I think that's what I'm trying to show, right? Which is I have all those leads, but that's because I'm constantly generating them.
Hmm.
Eventually, you just got to go out and find the ones that you're willing to stay in touch with for the long run.
And so, outside of the 1,500, that you're having more consistent relationship with or staying in touch. What strategies do you have for re-engaging the colder leads that are in that database? Do you have a system around that?
So yeah, it's very simple. The system is a simple script. You know, just call these people, and you don't have to pretend that you know everything about them. If they're old, let's say that it was a buyer lead that you generated from 4 years ago, from your first attempt at generating Facebook leads, right? Or whatever the case. If they've been sitting in your database for 4 years and no one has called them, that's as simple as just giving them a call and saying, "Hey, Bob, I don't know if you recall, but a few years ago, you and I were staying in touch because you were looking at homes in Broward County. And I just wanted to reach back out to you to see if you already bought a home or if you're still looking."
I love that. So,
That's it.
and again, we're looking at a large database. If, and we have agents who will amass that amount. How do you measure the effectiveness of your database?
So honestly, it goes back to, that's a good question. So basically, the effectiveness should really be based on whether or not you're closing deals, right? So if you're closing deals, you should know what the source is, meaning how did you initially get in touch with that person? Was it at an open house? Was it a lead you generated from realtor.com or Facebook, whatever it is? Track your sources, right? So that at the end of the year, you can look back and say, all right, out of the 100 homes that I closed, 30 of them were referrals, people that I already knew. So that doesn't count. That was business that would have came in whether or not I was doing anything. But 70 of the closings I had, 40 of them came from this database, right? And the other 30 came from this database. And then you determine, okay, is the leads are the closings that I'm having and the income that I'm generating surpassing the cost of having that database or generating those leads? And that's usually how I can determine if it's being effective and if I want to keep using it, for the following year, right? And that's where also those tallies come into play, right? Like keeping track of your daily contacts, right? So at the end of the year, you can determine if all those people you were staying in touch with in that database actually led to something. You know what I mean? Because if they're not leading to anything, then why have it in the first place, right?
Absolutely. How have you evolved your strategies for your database with the changes in the market?
So I think that's more of a reason to be involved with your database. Like if there's changes to the market, if there's shifts, right? That's more of a reason you should be staying in touch with the people you've been following up with, right? Whether they ask you to call them or not, you reach out to them, say, "Hey, this is what's happening in the market. I know that," for example, let's say it's a buyer. And I'm saying because it's a little bit simpler nowadays. Over the last 3 years, it was a lot more difficult for buyers to find homes, right? Because of tight inventory and multiple offers. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. Now there's a lot more inventory, and now it's a lot easier to negotiate properties, right? So you evolve your database by going back to those people that probably said to call them towards the end of the year. You call them now and say, "Look, I know you told me to call you at the end of the year, but you won't believe what's happening, right? Over the last 3 years, you never bought because XYZ. Well, guess what? XYZ is gone. If it was possible to get you into a home now, if the numbers make sense, would you consider doing that now?" Right? So again, I think that a changing market, an evolving market, it makes it just a lot more. It's just easier to connect with people, right? Because now you actually have something to tell them or show them and add value to.
Absolutely. So if you can believe it or not, we're winding down. We've only probably got about 6 minutes left, Kevin. I want to get to this viewer question. So they asked, what should new realtors anticipate when dealing with cold calling for the first time? And do you have any suggestions for handling objections?
That's a great question. I think I know who asked that. So what should they anticipate? So just a lot of rejection, I hate to say it, but statistically, you might have to get hung up on 10 times before you get maybe one or two people that are willing to talk to you, right? So again, it goes into the mentality of having long-term vision, which is, all right, I'm not going to get caught up on the 10 people that told me no. As a matter of fact, you should feel great that you were even willing to talk to 10 different people. And out of those 10, if only one or two said yes, you're winning. Focus on those one and two. Those are the one and two that you're probably going to want to stay in touch with forever, right? Because they gave you the time of day, and I'm sure that they were nice. And believe me, I don't know about you, but I like working with nice people that want to be talked to, not the ones that want to get hung up on, right? I'm not trying to handle the most difficult objections out there. I think objection handling is good, but I'm not going to try to handle an objection from a rude guy, someone that told me to screw off. No, I'm not going to do that. So just understand that you have to embrace the suck, right? You have to be willing to just go through the tough moments, because they're going to make the good moments and the good conversations that much better, right? And as far as suggestions for handling objections, practice them daily. Practice them daily. That's another thing that we do with our team before they get on their database and do their follow-up, before they decide they want to go do their own lead generation, we script practice. And let's say, all right, well, let's have a conversation around the most difficult subjects you're coming up across, right? So whatever challenge you're having, whatever you're hearing on the other phones, let's talk about it, right? And if you do that on a daily basis, again, you have to be consistent. This isn't a I'm gonna do it if I feel like it industry. This isn't a I'm gonna do it every now and then if I have time. That doesn't work. And if you really think that's gonna work, you should stop now, because you have to be extremely consistent and committed to your craft, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there and fail forward, right? Because it's not going to matter how many times you fail. You're going to fail a lot. I still fail all the time. But most importantly, what matters is how many times you're going to pick yourself back up. How many times are you going to look back and be like, all right, I messed up. I should have done this. Next time I'll do this, and accept it and decide you still want to move forward. I think that that's very difficult for most people, but I also think that that's where all the growth happens. I think that's the only way you can actually sharpen your tool.
Awesome. We had another question. I know you touched on it a little bit, but what keeps you motivated to be successful in the business?
Yes, I did touch on that a little bit, which is your big why, right? Your big por qué. Why do you do this, right? Is it just the money? Well, money is going to dry out, and you don't want to be the richest man in the cemetery. Believe me, I hear that's very lonely. It's my motivation is my family, my loved ones, making sure that they're provided, making sure that the people that are around me and look up to me are happy, and doing whatever I can do to make that easy for them, and following those simple daily habits, to keep your energy high, to keep your mood, at the utmost highest potential.
That's great. Hey, Brent, welcome back.
Hey, guys, that was awesome. Kevin, that was some fantastic information. And Miko, what a great job, dude. You're a natural. That was awesome. So yeah, did you have a closing thought, Miko? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah, that was really good. But that was about to roll out of my mouth for Kevin, just to share a closing thought. I know, Kevin, you shared something with us that we want to get out to the people watching. If you want to just briefly talk about what you shared with us that people can use to help them with playing the long game with their database.
Sure. So I actually provided a simple PDF. It's a CRM flowchart, right? Which just kind of gives you an idea of maybe how you should be staying in touch with people, depending on whether or not you've connected with them, right? So someone that you've never connected with, you might want to call them for a several amount of time versus someone that you've already connected with, right? So it just kind of gives any new agent like a good parameter to stay within. And
that's perfect.
And as far as closing statement goes, for all of those of you out there watching, I don't know where you are, we do service the Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade area. So if at any moment you want to refer any of your clients, believe me, they're going to be in great hands, and I will get you paid. And I do want to end with one statement, which is one of my favorite bold laws, which is ultimately your business grows to the extent that you do. All right. So this building a real estate business or building your listing database, is not a simple task, right? But you know what does make it easier? If you as a person are growing mentally, spiritually, professionally, if you're growing in all aspects of your life and you're staying sharp and you're willing to grow and learn and understand that you have to put your ego aside, you have to be humble, you have to be willing to forgive yourself in moments where things don't go your way, and you have to be, again, committed to yourself long term, right? And I really think that that becomes easier when you commit to yourself, that you will try to become the best person that you can possibly be. You do that, everything else almost happens naturally. It's kind of scary, actually. It's like a real equation that exists out there in this world, in this universe. And if you just plug the numbers in the right place and do what you got to do, the results come, whether you see them or not, whether it makes sense or not, the results come. And to me, I think that's freaking amazing.
That was a
Awesome.
great closing statement, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Hey,
So,
Kevin,
awesome.
for
I've got a
referrals, hold on just a second, Peter. For referrals, Kevin, would you like to put your contact information in the chat?
Absolutely. The chat here to my right.
Yep. And Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. So if you've got business and it's in Kevin's region, be sure to refer to him. He's given his time today and his knowledge freely. And how awesome. Really, really good stuff. And I got a lot out of the mindset part of it and the spiritual nature of the job, like your attitude and getting up and the drive that's required. All that stuff matters more than knowledge. It's so important to have that base of just being a really good business person. So I was highly impressed. And Miko, Radio Miko. What a surprise right there. The interview.
I mean, they always said I had a face for radio, so,
I'll stop it.
Great job, though. Really, really good job, guys.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we've got somebody, another awesome guest coming up, Peter, right?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking with Barclay Belazer, which is the first time I said his name. I hope I pronounced it right. If I didn't, he'll tell me. Barclay's going to be talking about the massive, massive opportunity that for sale by owners present. We are all focused on being the #1 listing agent in the world as a business. We are literally going to attain and keep that prize. And all our skills for the rest of the year are going to be focused on getting listings. So this couldn't be more timely, having these expert agents who know how to get listings, but what their systems and models are and mindset is towards getting those. So Barclay's going to cover for sale by owners. They're great, right, Brett? Because they pop up and say, I want to sell my house, right? So it's like...
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to clarify something, though. Everybody else is striving to be the #2 listing agent in the world because Kevin already said he's #1. You made that clear from the start.
Kevin is the #1 listing agent in the world. So, in our new... Because we want to stay positive, and what we've got to do is pivot in the most positive manner to what's going to be the most secure line of income for us as agents, and that is certainly the listings. So we are going to take the market. Whether other companies out there think they're going to do it, they're not. We're having it. It's ours, and these guys are proving that. So we're going to be really diving deep into for sale by owners at 10 o'clock. So we've got a few minutes of a break.
Awesome.
Right, Brett?
Yep. Thanks again, guys. We really appreciate your time, Kevin. Thank you so much.
You got it. Bye.
All right. Bye.
She didn't love you back.
Okay.
When you fall in love, but it don't work out. When you cry at least 100 times. When you feel so stuck and you can't get out. Just remember, there will come a day when it all works out. And you didn't even make it try. Go right away if you hold on now and remember that the only way is I'm too tired of the drama. You use your words like they are knives. I don't need that type of drama. I'm trying to be tough all the damn time.
Hello. Yeah.
Make yourself feel
Yeah, I got all that.
Okay, bye. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get it? Yeah, baby, I will fight. Nothing ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, don't go and shoot me down. I will always get up again. You're looking at me so cold. Get over yourself, are you for real? Why are you looking at me so cold? One's love is not working out nice. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get it? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me. I'm bulletproof, I won't fall. I'm bulletproof, don't go and shoot me down. I will always get up again.
All right. Welcome back. Sorry, I have a lot of awesome people out there that let me know I had a hot mic. Trying to figure out all these audio settings, but we'll have it figured out for next time. So I apologize for that. And Peter, we have another special guest, Barkley Belizaire, right? Are we saying it right, Barkley?
Peter had it right. He Barclay like the bank.
Barclay.
Barkley, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you. You can hear me?
Barclay. Yeah. I'm hearing you.
There we go. It's me. It's me. I'm the one with all the audio problems. My bad.
Technology, right?
Yeah, so Barclay, we want to get to know you and about what you do with For Sale by Owners. So I'm going to start off with a few questions about you so we can understand who you are, what motivates you, what kind of got you into the industry, what's keeping you in the industry, what do you love about it. So where are you located at? I can see you've got Miami Eagle right behind you.
I'm located in beautiful Miami, Florida.
Okay, and where are you from? Are you from that area?
No, I was born in Haiti, but I lived here my whole life. So I've been
Cool.
in Miami my whole life.
Cool. Great stuff. So, and how long have you been involved in real estate?
About 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, talking of FSBOs, For Sale by Owners, like it's when you're doing lead generation, and we talk about the funnel, and there's a top of funnel lead that's kind of cool, and showing a little bit of interest in real estate, but we don't really have formulated the motivations. Then you got the middle of the funnel where they're kind of looking at properties, and you get an idea what's going on. Maybe they're thinking of selling, and then bottom of funnel is where they're ready to convert. The beauty of FSBO is you're straight down to the bottom of the funnel, right? They want to sell a house.
Yeah.
So how do you approach finding them in the first place? What's your strategies for actually acquiring the lead?
The strategy for acquiring a lead, at least for me, is actually getting the numbers ready the day before. But it's like a two-part strategy, because one of the first parts is like mental, because you have to be mentally prepared to talk to them. You have to know your scripts. You have to know your objections and how you're going to handle that. But on the back end, is really having your numbers ready the day before. So when the time comes to clock in, you just go.
Love it. So let's dive in a bit deeper into that getting ready, the mindset the day before. So what goes through your mind to give you the mental strength to handle those objections, face quite often, I guess, rejection, right? Like, I don't want to pay an agent. I don't think you guys are worth it. I'm listing this myself because I'll make more money doing it on my own.
One, I don't look at it as a rejection because they can't reject me, honestly. I look at it of, okay, how can I provide value for this person today?
Right. Well,
How
that's
can I-
interesting.
How can
Yeah.
I help? So I
Okay.
don't look at it as
So
rejection.
you don't. So your mental process is that when you're dealing with a client, a new person you're not met before, I guess you've called them, right?
Mhm.
And you, in your mindset, there is no way they can reject you.
No, they don't know me. I don't love them.
So there's
They don't love me.
So you're depersonalizing the relationship.
Yeah,
You're
it's
saying,
not.
You can't
It's
hurt me.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until they get to know me, like me, and trust me, there's nothing they can really do to me that's gonna affect me.
So that is very interesting. It's the complete polar opposite of how I think, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, oh, that hurt me. It's like people, because you're right. The objection isn't about you as an agent and you as a person. It's
Yeah.
about them and what they're going through and what they're thinking, right? So that's cool. So
I mean, really, a for sale by owner is thinking that they don't need us. We don't provide value. All we do is open doors. They don't need us. We have agents lined up. We have buyers lined up outside the door. So like, bring me a buyer. Like, why do we need a listing agent?
Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit. So when you source a for sale by owner, are you finding them on Zillow? Are you getting lists or leads from other companies? Are you using dialer software? What's your setup for actually finding the customer?
Well, I'm manual right now, so I get everything from Zillow. So I
Yep.
scrub them, make sure we call it in a TCPA compliant way, but I get everything right now from Zillow.
Okay, that's cool. So let's talk about that first approach. So I don't really want to role play it, but I just want to kind of go through the motions of what it's like to have that initial call.
Mhm.
So when you first make contact with that
Mhm.
for sale by owner, what's your opening strategy to stimulate a conversation?
I introduce myself. I let them know who I am. Well, I first find out if they're the owner. So once I know they're the owner, or if they're like the sibling or the attorney or whatever, then I'll introduce myself, let them know like what I'm calling for, and then break it down from there.
Okay. So once they've confirmed that they are the owner and you know they've got the house on the market, what
Mhm.
what type of conversation do you have? Do you ask questions, or do you just like let them talk and listen?
You're gonna ask questions, so I will ask them like, after you sell this house, like where are you going to next? Like what's your plan after you sell this house? And then it's really finding the motivation and how I could best help them. And then, let's get this upfront. Is it because of commission why you don't want to handle an agent, or like what is it? So it
Okay.
all
And what's important about knowing their motivation?
because it's the pain If you don't know their pain, there's no way you could close them.
Got
So
you.
like if they're having an objection and it's like, okay, you told me that you want to be in Georgia to be with your family in the next 30 days, like, and I could get you there. Like, what is stopping you from hiring me today?
Got you. So discovering what their problem is, their pain point,
Mhm.
you then quickly think of how that affects them, what it means to them, and what you can bring to the table to solve that, right?
Yeah, because we problem solvers. So you have a
Yeah,
problem, I have a solution. What we doing?
got you. So it sounds like your conversation's not transactional. It's not
No,
about, I need this listing. You're trying to
no.
solve the problem.
Yeah, be human more often.
Got you.
So
It's
yeah,
good
it's
stuff.
never transactional. It's more personal. Like, how can I really help you?
Got you. So if the customer opens up
Hmm.
in that conversation,
Hmm.
then I guess you're going to move into exploring that problem. Like you said, it might be they want to be with family, they want to move nearer grandkids, or they want to move back up north, or whatever their goal is.
Yeah,
So you're not initially talking about the fact that they are a for sale by owner. You're talking about what's going on with them, right?
yeah. Like, how can we help you? How can we solve this problem? And then also learning what kind of personality they are. So if they're a high D, they're going to be straight to the point. So they're going to be all about numbers, straight to the point. So learning what type of personality they are. So when I do get in front of them, I know how to tailor my presentation.
Got you. So tell us a bit more about that. I think that's called the DISC profile, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So funny story. I had met with a for sale by owner, and we going through the whole listing presentation. I'm going through the papers, and he was like, "How much money I'm going to make?" And I told him, and he was like, "This is what I want to walk away with. Can you make this happen?" I like, "Yeah." He signed a listing agreement. So he was a high D, straight to the point. So you have some people who's a high C where they want to see numbers, they want to see analytics. So you have to actually, that presentation is going to take longer because you got to show them why, if you list with me, you're going to make more money versus if you do it on your own.
Okay. So what goes through your mind to determine their DISC profile? So do you ask certain questions, or is it just the way in which they respond that gives you that clue?
Both. So it'll be
Oh,
if they're straight to the point, they're a D. If they're like, hurry up, get to the point. If they're somebody who is an I and they're telling you everything, so okay, this person, they want to be tailored to. If there's somebody who cares about numbers and they're analytical, or you're asking them like, what do you do for a living? And they're telling you like, I'm a lawyer, accountant, so they're analytical. So depending on which one of them they are, then you get to know like how to tailor your presentation.
wow. So there's a lot more going on than like, because I see these I call them fake gurus that are out there on the internet and like on YouTube, and they're
Yeah.
talking about a for sale by owner script, and this is how you do it. This is way more deep. You're looking for their pain. You're looking to find out what their motivation is.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking to see what their personality is like,
Yeah.
so that you can then be like the right
Person for them.
persona, right? The right
And-
presentation.
And you learn how to communicate with them. Some people want to be called more often than they want to be text. Some people only want to be text. So you get to learn how to communicate with this person too.
Yeah. And how do you discover that? Do you just straight out ask them?
Yeah, like how do you want to talk to? Or like you learn over time. Like I have a seller right now and I'm dealing with him and the wife. The wife want to talk and he's more texting. Like he won't answer my calls, but the wife will. So I know if I'm talking to the wife, I gotta call her and talk to her. If I'm talking to the husband, I gotta text them.
Wow. So these are nuances. So are you using like a CRM to note down your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely when I call them and they're talking to me, I'm writing everything out of what they're saying, key points of what they're saying, and based on their tone and their personality, I'm writing down if they're a high D or high I, and then then I put into the CRM when I'm following up with them.
Right. So how many calls does it take to get to the in-person presentation? How many times do you have to speak to people?
You will never, no, I'm not going to say never. The chances of you getting the appointment on the first call is very rare unless there's somebody who is a high I and they're overwhelmed with all the calling. But if you got somebody who got high D or high C, the chances of you getting that call on the first time or the appointment on the first time is kind of rare. But for me personally, for every 15 phone calls I make, I will speak to like 5 people. And the numbers is like 12 to 1. So the goal is to get to 12. So depending on how you track your numbers, you get to know like if I got to make more calls or less calls, or if it's a conversation problem too.
Okay, so let's dig into that numbers bit. So you said 12 to 1. Could you explain that a little further?
So for every 12 people you talk to, you're going to get 1 lead.
Right.
Yeah, so if I call 15 for sale by owners and I speak to 5, I know I have to get to that 12 to get that 1 lead. And it's not all the time. Sometimes, you might find that like that little sweet little thing hanging, the sweet little fruit, but the numbers really are 12 to 1 on an average basis.
So, and how would you define the lead? What is a lead compared to just you find a FSBO number, right?
A lead is somebody who you actually communicate with, and they're telling you that like maybe not right now, maybe tomorrow, maybe let me try this out for 3 weeks, let me try this out for this month. So a lead is somebody who is like they're not ready yet, like you get me, like they're still shivering, and you just got to put on the coat and nurture them until they're ready to come outside.
Okay, so when you see a for sale by owner come to market, the number of days on average that it takes them to decide, I don't want to do this on my own, I think I'm going to need to talk with an agent and understand how they can help me. Is there a specific number of days that you found that a for sale by owner is more likely to engage with you?
It's usually an 8 to 12 week ratio of them going from there, but depending if they're at it for like 30 days and really depending on their motivation of how quick they need to get to where they're trying to go to, or how overwhelmed they are with all the phone calls. Because you got to think about it. Who's really calling them for sale by owner? Agents, investors, tire kickers. So depending on how overwhelmed when they realize this is not working, then it's just you have to be in front of them.
Got you. So in terms of that process and your CRM and taking notes, are you then revisiting all of that before you make the next call so that you can then be the right frequency, if you like, with them, so you're matching how they are?
It really kind of depends on the smart plan you pick. Me and my MCTT, Ariel Hernandez, created a smart plan for sale by owners where we're actually telling them how they could sell their home on their own. So, but it's like a text and an email, and then they get like a thank you card. They get also like videos from us, and it's like a weekly follow up because a lot of agents stop calling after week number 2.
Okay, so they give up too quickly, right?
Yeah. Me
So,
personally, I go to their open houses and spend time with them.
got you. So I'd really like to explore that process so that other agents can see what work you're putting into this to get your success. So you mentioned quite a few things there. One, you worked with your MCTT, so you're using Command, right?
Yes.
and you've got a smart plan that has text messages and email and video.
Not video.
Not
Like
video.
the video is manually, but the smart plan has a text and it has an email. So it's a
Okay.
follow-up text like, hey, I sent you an email, did you get it? And then they also go on the biweekly neighborhood nurture. So I use that, like if I see they open the biweekly neighborhood nurture, I call them and I ask them like, hey, were you surprised by what you seen in the biweekly neighborhood nurture? They're just telling them what's going on in their community or in the
Okay.
neighborhood.
So for newer agents who might be listening, the bi-weekly neighborhood nurture, tell us about what that is and what's in the email that goes out to them.
The biweekly neighborhood nurture is basically like an analysis of what's going on in the neighborhood and what came on the market was so kind of giving them like a basic of it. And then in the smart plan we have is really a how to sell your home on your own guide. So we call it a six-step selling process where we break it down of like, this is all the things you need to do to get your home successfully sold.
Okay. So that seems counterintuitive, right? Because as a real estate agent, why am I telling them how to do it themselves?
Two reasons. One, we need that house sold because we need the data. So even if we don't sell it, it's like, all right, cool, we need that data to get it sold. And then two, when you start showing them that like it's not just, hey, here's the kitchen or here's the door that we're showing to people, they eventually get overwhelmed. They're like, okay, come and do it.
Right. So it's a bit like those ads I see where it starts off with you can do this. And this is a really, like it could be for anything like marketing, running Facebook ad campaigns. And then the company that's offering that service will show you how to do it. And then you realize it's just impossible. So you're going to hire them.
Yeah.
Right. So you're using that same strategy in a way. You're actually revealing the complexity of getting a home sold. And therefore it's raising in their mind, you know what? I don't know if I can do the contract part. I don't know if I can get the appraisal through.
I would actually say that smart plan actually shows the value of a realtor. It shows the value of what we do and everything of that nature. So now by them seeing it, they're like, okay, I understand why he's worth what he's worth.
Yeah. So how did you come about to discover that actually revealing the process to help them do it themselves was a way to convert them to work with you? How did you discover that?
It was a part of our follow-up plan. So like if I was to go on a for sale by owner preview, I would actually bring that with me because the preview wasn't like a guaranteed listing. But when you wasn't a guaranteed listing appointment, but when you go to them, you're like, hey, if you plan on doing this on your own, which I'm pretty sure you could sell your house on your own, here is the guy that you need to help you sell your house on your own. So it's part of the process and everything. So then we decided to make it into a smart plan and add it as like a ongoing touch.
Yeah, that's gold. It really is. So just to keep things kind of linear for people who are watching and listening. So let's start at the beginning and identify the processes that you go through, because you mentioned their preview.
Yeah.
So let's talk. First of all, you find the for sale by owner prospect by scouring the internet, we'll call it. You're looking on the portals, right?
Not just the internet.
Yeah.
Not just the internet, because not every for sale by owner is tech savvy and on the internet. So you could be driving and you see for sale by owner.
Drive around, see the signs.
Yeah, take a picture, you call them, you door knock on them, or you door knock if they're there, if you see their car there. So it's not just the internet. Sometimes
So you're discovering the opportunity through multiple channels. You've got seeing the signs. I mean, back in the day, people used to put cards in the store window with the house for sale on it, but that's kind of gone. So you've discovered who they are. You've created a database. You're using command. You're inputting their contact information. You're getting a smart plan prepared. Do you send that smart plan before you speak to them, or do you speak to them first and then initiate the smart plan?
I speak to them first.
Okay.
I speak to them first, and if I see they're like somebody who is, because you have people who's just testing the market. So if I see somebody who I could actually help and they're giving me permission to stay in contact with them, then I will add them to the smart plan and everything of that nature. If I'm able to capture their email.
Okay. So obviously in these scenarios, we've got to be spam compliant, by having that permission, and TCPA compliant as well in terms of our calling activities. So you've discovered who they are, you've reached out to them by phone, you're taking notes in your database, you're then assigning them to your smart plan, which effectively is like reverse selling. It's like, this is how you do it yourself, but once you've discovered that, you're going to know you need me, right?
Yeah.
So that's your strategy. That's what's going on. So what about grading your prospects? Do you make a note of do you use some people have bronze, silver, gold, or, like a platinum lead or a hot lead or a warm lead, a cool lead? Do you actually segment your database so you know who's on top?
I highlight green if I'm able to get some, if I really see there's a pain point or a motivation that I could get them there, then I highlight them green. If not, not really, because it's either you want to or you don't. So
okay, so it's polarized. They're either go or stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't, I would still follow up with you until you sell. But if you do, then it's like, okay, how can I help you? How can I meet you? Can I do an open house for you? How are you marketing the property? I'm asking them questions to create doubt a little bit, and also show them this is why we need to meet, so we could talk about a strategy of how we're going to get you top dollar for your home.
Okay. So to have that initial meeting, what's the language that you're using? And I noticed you called it a preview, right? So are you proposing that you may want to understand their home better and see what it looks like so that you can offer it to your database of buyers? Is that your strategy? So you want to see the home as a preview. So you're not going along to sell them a listing agreement. You're going along to preview the home.
Depending on, the goal is to get in front of them. So if they're like, I don't want to list, but I'll let you come over, then it's like, all right, that's a preview. But if they're like, I do want to list, I'm actually curious what you say, then that's a listing appointment. So depending on if I'm going on a preview, I have a different approach versus if I'm going on a listing appointment.
Okay, so let's talk about both of those types of appointments. Firstly, the preview. What do you do to prepare for that preview, and what do you take with you? What documentation have you got? What information have you got about yourself and the process? What do you hand them?
Mentally, I would still treat it as a listing appointment. So I'll bring the comms, I'll bring the listing agreement, I'll bring 183 things we do for our seller. I'll bring the listing appointment documents, and I'll also bring them the how to sell your home on your own guide.
Okay, so you've introduced another value piece. So we've got the how to sell your home on your own guide, which is really, you don't want to do this because this is what it involves. But you mentioned 183 things we do for you?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that.
So it's a list of 183 things that we do, from prepping before we get to the house to when we put your house on the market to going over offers and negotiating contracts. So it's a list of 183 things that we will do for you to get your home sold.
So what you're saying to the for sale by owner is that's 183 things you're going to have to do for yourself if you don't use an agent.
Yeah.
So again, you're sowing that doubt.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah. You're presenting your value. Yes.
Now, yeah. So that was another way of putting it, and the value proposition is a massive thing right now. So like this afternoon, we've got Value Squared with Gary Keller and Jason Abrams and Jay Papazan. And it's become very important because of the regulation potential changes that we're going to be having down the line.
Right.
It's become very important for us to be able to articulate our value. So there's multiple ways of doing that. It's not just what you say, it's the pieces that you're giving them. That 183 guide, that guide to how to sell the home. So do you talk about yourself? Do you? No. It's
not about me.
It's not about you.
No.
So it's egoless selling.
Yeah. How can I help you? If you tell me this is the amount of money you want to make and it's realistic, let's do it.
So it's not about me. That's a key point. It really is, because I don't want to get into philosophy too much, but I've always had this thing that if you fight something, it will fight you back. right? And whatever you put into pushing something forward, it's
Yeah.
going to push you. So it's like there's, I don't know if it's the Japanese, but it's basically you don't want to become your enemy
Mhm.
by fighting with the same strategy. So what you're doing is you're taking your ego out of this completely. It's
Yeah.
not about me.
Mm. How can I help you?
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know I can help you. Like there's also a confidence that go into it too, where it's
Yeah.
like I am the best person for the job. So there's a confidence that you have to build up to so they could feel comfortable and confident to list with you or to work with you. But
Mhm.
it had nothing to do about me. Because even like we get the listing, right? And now let's say the seller's being unrealistic with the offer, and I could go back like, hey seller, remember what you told me you want to do this, that, and third by this date? Well, this is what we have, this is what's going on. What do you want to do? So the
Yeah.
decision will always, even the pricing will always be in their hands. So if they be like, I want to be overpriced, it's like, okay, these are the list of 3 outcomes. What's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Either we get, multiple showings and no offers, we get no showings at all, or the home sale. You pick where you want to be.
Yeah. So Barclay, you have revealed your power in actually what drives your success, which is you're very humble in your approach,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful quality to have. And it's not something that you learn. It's not something that you are that being. You're putting that energy out, which is very, very interesting. So back to the process. You mentioned about pricing. We've got to talk about for sale by owner pricing, because whenever I look at my neighbors and in the local area, when they go for sale by owner,
Mhm.
they never seem to get the price right. They're either
They
way
can't.
too low or way too
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that conversation about pricing?
2 ways. One, when we're going over the comps, well, I try to ask them where they get their number from, and they'll either tell me my neighbor sold for this or my neighbor sold for that, and I'll tell them like, okay, as a local real estate expert of me doing what I do of coming up with, what we could get your home sold for, let's look at the market and what's going on around you. So we want to stay, we have a low inventory, so you don't want to go too far out because it's like then, no, that's a different market 30 days ago, but you want to understand what's going on in the neighborhood. Example, like the for sale by owner I'm talking to right now, he's priced at 430. He got multiple offers, but his house is sell for 490.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my goal of whenever I get in front of him is like, hey, you told me you want a net 440. We could sell your house for 490. Let's do the right thing and get your home on the market and get you top dollar for your home. So he has multiple offers, but he doesn't know how to negotiate. He has an attorney, and the attorney is like looking over the paperwork, but they don't know how to negotiate.
No.
So when you're coming to him, when you're coming to the for sale by owner, you're showing them like the value. Something else that we do, like if there's something that's active with contract or pending, I'm gonna call the agent like, hey, what are you under contract for? Did you get full ask or did you get under or did you get over? So that way when I go and I could tell when he's like, oh well, this house is under contract for 550. I'm like, yeah and no. They're actually selling it for 500. I called the agent. I spoke to them. That's information or data they don't have. That I already
Yes.
did the homework for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely true. You know, in some states, you don't ever find out what
So
it's
they
sold for. They don't disclose it. But where I am, I'm in Southwest Florida, and we've had a lot of activity because we had a hurricane. And the hurricane damaged so many houses, but it damaged the spirit of the people. They didn't want to live in that area anymore, or if they had second homes they wanted to sell. So we had a massive rise in inventory, which caused a big drop in prices. And what we didn't know and still don't know, right, is when the neighbor's house sells and he's got it on the market for 500, we don't know what is accepted for it. And my neighbor really surprised me because they had the house on the market for 400 and they accepted 300. Right. And just sold it. Right. So that kind of knowledge that you have as a real estate agent and you're bringing that to the for sale by owner is a tremendous value that they don't necessarily know they need. Right. Mm-hmm. So how do you communicate with the for sale by owner to make them understand that you're not just hungry for a commission? You're not just trying to make money out of them. How do you present that concept that you're here to serve and you're here to, enrich them in a way to make them more money.
I let them come to the conclusion.
So you
So
don't
by
force.
me, no. So by me, like asking them questions and kind of going around the block with them and showing them like this is what's going on, this is how we could help, and this is all the things that we could do, they realize, okay, maybe. I think my favorite approach is using Zillow against them. So a lot of for sale by owners are like they're on Zillow. So I'm like, okay, two things. Zillow tell people what your house is supposedly worth. So if you're listed at 470, Zillow's telling everybody your house is worth 430. So now you're already a bargaining chip. People's gonna offer you 380. If you list with me, we take that away. People won't know what the estimate is for your home or anything of that nature. And then I also use exposure. As a for sale by owner, you're only exposed to 8% of the market. And do you know where Zillow is hiding your listing? They'd be like, oh, it's with everybody else. I'm like, no, this is where all the
No.
realtors are listed. We have to go and actually find you. So if 92% of homes are sold with an agent, where is the agent looking for the homes? So helping them come to that conclusion where they realize that the only people that's going to be calling them is agent, tire kickers, and investors. Let's put you in front of the real buyer.
Got you. So there was another key point you mentioned. You're full of gems, I gotta say. So what you said was, where do agents find homes to introduce to their buyers, right? Which is the MLS, right?
Yes.
So what you're saying to that for sale by owner is you think you're being seen by the market, but in fact, even Zillow is working against you because they have that separation between the MLS data and for sale by owners, and they hide it behind another screen, right? You've got to click not listed by agents to even have it pop up.
Yeah, you got to go to the top of you got to go to the top left-hand corner to buy. Yeah. Then it's going to say for sale by owner. Then you got to go find the area. It's not consumer friendly.
No. So do you actually show the for sale by owner that? Do you get your laptop out and say, look, this is how hard it is for a buyer to find your home?
Well, before I go over comps, I actually have the Zillow page printed, and I'm like, I see you're asking for 450. Well, this is how much Zillow is telling all the buyers your home is worth.
Which is usually less, right?
Yeah, it's usually less, and it's usually $20,000 off. And then after that, I will show them like, do you know where your home is listed on for sale on that? And they will pull up, like, it's right here. And I'll be like, don't type in your address, find it for me. And then actually I have to go through them manually and show it to them.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a very valid point. I once had a buyer say to me, I will not offer more than the Zestimate. So the buyers, they've got it in their head that Zestimate's real, when in fact it's just an algorithm. It doesn't know anything about the property. It doesn't know about improvements, the age of the roof, the age of the AC, doesn't know about open permits. It doesn't know about anything. It just knows the average of what's selling per square foot in the area. That home has this amount of square feet, therefore the price is this. It's useless, right? Yep. So you're making that clear. So the next question I've got for you, again, it's about process. So what do you do when you don't get the response that you were hoping for? So the for sale by owner says, you know what, I ain't ready to talk to you.
I'll call you. If I asked like 5 times for the appointment and I didn't get it, and then like, all right, I'll check up on you later this week and see how everything's going.
Okay, so you're coming from a contribution again. So you ask them in different ways, I guess, multiple times to try and get in front of them. Once it's established that they're just not ready for that, they go on the smart plan, right? And then are you creating a task in command to say, I'm going to call you X date, 5 days, a week, whatever?
Yeah. Well, if I got the email, they're going on a smart plan. If I didn't get the email, I will call them again on Friday because Friday is my follow-up days. So I will follow up with them on Friday. They get a thank you for taking my call video. And then usually they get overwhelmed by Monday. It's weird.
Because of all the other people calling them.
Yeah, all other people calling them. They probably try to have an open house. It didn't work. So usually when you call back, and the best script when you're calling back is, hey, last time we spoke, you told me yada, yada. Now they're like, oh, you was actually listening? now they're more open to you. So when you call back that Monday or whenever you call back and you're like, hey, last time we spoke, you told me this. Is that still the same plan, or is this what's still going on? They have a more opening to you because you actually paid attention.
Okay, so there's a couple of things you said there, which are again powerful. One, you proved to them on the second call that you listened on the first call, because you've taken notes and then you're repeating what the content of those notes, so they feel heard, right?
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing for that consumer to you say they know you're not just a scripter, just doing scripts. You're
No.
literally having conversations, taking notes, referring back to them to show and demonstrate that you care about them and you listen to them.
Yeah. I mean, there's two scripts, right? There, for me personally, well, there's about like 3-4 scripts. The one script that I use is Jackie Kravitz. That's my intro script. Then once I get them warm and talking, I go to LPT Mama, which is location, price, time. Yeah, I go to LPT Mama, and that way it's helping me pre-qualify them to see if they're really willing, ready, and able. So once I have all that information, then it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to follow up with you on, or go from there.
Okay, so you have like a conversation pre-planned in your mind. Do you have that written down in front of you to refer to, or have you just learned it now?
Yeah, I learned it. So I script practice every morning at 8 o'clock. I have another script practice every morning at 9:30 with Maps Recon. And then every Friday we have another script practice at 8:30 with David Radney. So I have multiple script practice partners around me. So that way we're working on bettering the script so we can never get it wrong.
Your focus is incredible.
Thank you.
You see, when you find success, right? For everybody else, they think it's easy. Like, that's easy. You did that. It's amazing, but it's easy. It's not. It's hard work, right? You're putting in 3 times a week. Are you doing script practice every day?
Monday to Friday.
Every day, but you have certain events during the week, and on Fridays you're doing that before you do what you call your follow-up Friday.
Yeah, and then Saturday we have a Saturday with my productivity coach. We have a listing presentation practice. So that way we're focused on the listening presentation too. So we have systems built around practicing.
It's unbelievable. So you've got all this structure. You've obviously through time learned your conversations that you're having. You're listening intently to identify the personality of the person that you're working with, your DISC profile. You are taking careful notes of the conversations so that you can refer back to them within that conversation, and also if there's another one down the line and you can refer back to it so they feel heard. You've got a structured week by the sounds of it. You're time blocking, right? Yeah. And follow-up Fridays. So what made you pick Friday?
Is the weekend, and then not that many people work on weekends. So like, why not give them a call?
Okay. And when do you get time for yourself? Do you time block?
The goal is to have everything done by 12, and then after that, whatever happens, happens. So I'm basically cut off by like 7-8 p.m. Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, I go to the beach, and I'm about to be at somebody's restaurant to enjoy a dinner.
Got you. So you're living. That's the important thing.
Yeah, life by design.
Yeah. So I have a question which was on our list. We've covered most of the topics. There was a couple of things that we wanted to share. Was where did you get those resources from? You mentioned about LPT Mama.
Mm-hmm.
And you have various coaching during the week. What resources have you got from Keller Williams? Where did you find and what did you learn, as you from your coaching and from your team leaders and your MCTT?
I have a great support system around me. So I have productivity coaches that was given to me by my office. I actually had them for about like my whole career now. We have Maps coaching. We have like KW Maps Recon that we script practice with every morning. We got Push, which is prospect until something happened with David Radney. We have KWU. So there's a lot of resources that they give us. we got the shift book and the MREA too that helps with all the information. And looking at stuff like the vision speech definitely helps with tailoring the presentation, everything of that nature. So that
So
would be like the resource.
it's multifaceted. You've got so many different things in there. It's like almost too much to unpack. So what would you say had the biggest impact on you? Is it the coaching?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We have a budget. I will spend a lot of money on education and coaching because we need it to get better. So I always say learning based.
So you're learning based. So you're giving value. You've removed ego, which is interesting because a lot of agents that I see, when they're doing their marketing, it's all about them, right? And it's not for you. It's about the customer, right? It's about what they need. So that's extremely powerful. You've got the resources and the team around you, which is giving you confidence, and you're practicing as well as doing your live calls. You're doing practice with other agents or coaches.
Our five jobs.
Five.
Our 5 jobs: lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointments, negotiate contract, and script practice.
All right, let's say that again because that's cool. So
a real estate agent has 5 jobs. So that's lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and script practice. So if I could go home knowing I did each one of them 5, then I had a pretty successful day.
Wow. So, when you talked about the disc profile of the other people, what are you? Are you driven? Are you a high C? So tell me about that.
I didn't know I was analytical, but I'm very analytical and I love numbers. I didn't know that because I hate math.
Right.
I hate math, but very analytical. So like if you were to present me like, for example, door knocking.
Yeah.
I personally do not like door knocking because they told me it's gonna take 100 doors to get 1 lead. It's not worth my time. But now if you tell me, hey, if you take the listing and you do 5, 5, 10, and you're gonna get a 65% chance of getting the listing or getting another listing, I'll do that because I like probability better.
Wow. Right, we've got a few minutes left. What I want to do now is to go to the questions that we've been asked in the group. Was there anything you wanted to add that I haven't asked you that's like something that's important to you that you wanted to get out today?
There was one question where we asked about like what was like the best memory I had of a for sale by owner.
Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah.
So I did take a listing with this one guy. We listed within like 3 days. He loved me, but it was not about that. It was more of like he introduced me to the neighbors. So I met the neighbor once. He was like an old guy. He had cancer, but he wasn't ready to sell yet. So, I stayed in contact with them. A couple months later, the daughter called me, they ready. So I sat down with him and his motivation was, hey, I have cancer. I'm gonna pass away soon. And I need to make sure I set my daughter up. So he came from Haiti years ago and he brought the house back then at like 50,000. So he was able to sell his house for like around 200,000. And we used that money to help him pay off his daughter's car and buy the new house. So for me to be able to see multiple generations affected by, somebody making the right decision and to play a part in it. And, unfortunately he did pass away, but to me, that's the biggest reason. Because for every one listing you get, you're gonna get like another 2, 3 pieces of business. But actually being able to change somebody's life and help them grow or be better or achieve that dream is really like bigger than getting paid sometimes because it's like you got to be a part of that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're making a difference in people's lives, right? That's what that says. But also that kind of snowballing effect of business that you get more from having. So your activity is leading to production, and the production generates more. There's more comes from it. It's cool. So you're getting a lot of love out there. So thank you for sharing with us today, Barclay.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think it's Adore Fabi.
Adore Fabi,
yeah. Adore. So the next one is a question. So when do you typically input your leads into opportunities? So when do you decide it's an opportunity?
If they tell me come meet with them.
Okay.
If I'm going to the house, then they're gonna automatically become opportunity.
Okay, so you start early. So as soon as literally the door opens.
Yeah, they're opportunity, and that way I get to watch it.
Yeah. So Felicia Everett, she's got fire emojis going for you. We've got Lisa. I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Tumaning.
Yeah, I ain't gonna
Great
do it.
strategy, Barclay. Let's have a look here. Next question. When you've created a conversation with the for sale by owner and had already found out about the for sale by owner motivation, when have you created a conversation with the for sale by owner, already found out about the, I've got you. Okay. So go ahead, Brett.
I think that was an answer from
Yeah.
from the viewers.
Yeah, I think that was about the opportunity. So Barbie says Maps Recon with Denny Grimes on YouTube. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that's that's my script practice every day at 9:30.
Barclay, that's your awesome team leader, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we've got the South Florida region yelling at you, systems work, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got systems coming out of your ears. That's the analytical side of you. It's really awesome. More systems work. Let's have a look here. So Gabby says, yes, Peter, Barclay is the most focused individual I've ever met.
I think we skipped the question.
Yep. Here, I got it right here.
You got it. Okay.
If you were just starting out as a new agent, how would you go about starting with FSBO?
It's a two-part thing. One, I would say definitely, once again, have your numbers ready and everything of that nature, but also making sure that you're confident when you go meet them that you could help them and provide value.
That's awesome. And, you know, so the systems work. I love how you've got it down to numbers. FSBOs are scary for a lot of agents, right? Yeah. But I love how you came right out of the gate with, I don't know these people, they can't hurt me.
That's the ego, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have an ego, you can't be harmed.
No. And I just want to commend you, Barclay. I'm glad to get to know you just this little bit, even just through this call. You epitomize Keller Williams culture, buddy. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we've got a couple of minutes. Barclay, we want people to refer business to you.
Yeah.
Because you've given your time today, your knowledge, your freedom, your personality, and frankly, some things that I would call secrets, right? Which is some secret sauce in there. So we want to get you rewarded for that. So how do people reach out to you?
You can find me on social media, first name, last name. And my phone number is 305-484-3052. 3052.
Got you. All right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So you mentioned social media there. Just to wrap up, are you doing anything on social media to attract clients?
Yeah. I don't have it with me, but I actually, when I go on my previews of my appointments, they need to compensate me for this. When I go on my previews of my appointments, I got Ray-Bans. So my Ray-Bans, you can actually film video now. So part of my conversation started when I'm with FSBOs is like, hey, I'm about to take a quick video of your house. And they're like, where your camera at? Like, it's on my face. So we go on live, everything of that nature. But about 20% of my business is on social media, because for my generation at least, that's like our command, our database. So through posting my success, me going out to eat or random stuff, I'm staying top of mind with like people I grew up with and everything of that nature. So
are you inviting prospects to follow you? Are you getting them engaged with you on your social media even before you've?
I use it as a marketing plan.
Yeah.
When I go meet them, I use that as a marketing plan. Like, I'm gonna also put your home in front of my database on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So I use that.
Follow me, right? So follow me. So then you stay on top of mind. So this is where your home's going to be. You can see what I'm doing with other people's homes. You can see what I can do for you, and obviously that's very powerful in itself. So social media it's a bigger deal than I thought it might be for you.
Nah,
that's cool.
Yeah, my generation live on it.
We'll
Yeah.
see what we
So is
can
any-
do about getting you that sponsorship from Ray-Ban too,
Yeah,
Barkley.
we need
Yes,
that.
yeah, meta glasses. So Barclay, is there anything that we've missed? Is there anything you want to add?
Is there anything that you missed? Um, Honestly, I think for me when I first started, it was for me when I first started, it was like I kind of had no choice but to do for sub owners. So I had to get better with handling objection. Oh, feedback. Actual
Yep.
feedback. So I had this one for sale by owner. He was like my first one, and we built like great rapport. I thought that was like my best friend. Well, not really, but really.
Yeah.
So I met with him. I met with the wife a couple times, and then one day I got the dreaded email. Hey Barclay, thank you for everything. We're gonna list us another agent. And I was like, huh? So I actually was advised to ask him why. And his feedback to me was, you talk too fast. So I didn't get to understand you or build rapport with you. So I was
Wow.
able to take that feedback and keep it in mind because I'm from Miami. We like everything fast paced. So when I am talking, it's like, all right, slow down, or you're talking too much, or everything like that. So usually when you get the listing, they're going to tell you why they listed with you. But when you don't get the listing, to also ask why didn't I get the listing.
Amazing. So we've got your Instagram up there. Like you say, it's barclay.belazaire. That's right.
Yeah.
So we can follow you on Instagram and keep in touch that way. I'll definitely be doing that. And then Yabra says, reminder, he's got a great smart plan that he developed with Ariel in the smart
Yeah.
plan library. So your smart plan is public, right? We can download
Yeah.
it as agents.
So if you go to the smart plan and you go to Arthur name, look up Ariel Hernandez and look
Yeah.
for my 6-step home selling guide. It's a 2-part series, about like 50, 60 touches. So you can find it there.
I mean,
Awesome.
you and Ariel are going to make a really powerful team because he's Mr. Analytical, like and driven.
Oh, when
Yeah.
you do have them on a smart plan like that, and you do meet with them, take them off.
Right. So stop this. Well, we now have a new feature as well. So if the person responds, you can edit the smart plan for it to stop automatically if they respond to a text or an email. But you have to edit your existing smart plan will have that feature now at the bottom, but you've got to go in and edit it and switch it on. But like you say, if they respond by phone, the system's not going to know that, and you don't want to keep sort of following up when you're already in conversation, right? So it's a very good
You
point.
could keep them on the bi-weekly neighborhood nurture because that's
for
great
the information.
But any other thing to get in front of them, I would say take them off once you meet with
All
them.
right. Well, it's just finally to thank you. That was awesome. I learned so much from you. You are like, if they cut you in half, I think it'd say KW down the middle. It's absolutely culture. It's amazing. I mean, that's like a stick of rock. Do you get sticks of rock in America? I think so, Brett. So cool. Well, stick of rock's candy,
I don't
right?
get it either, Barkley. Don't worry about it.
So in England, right, we have this candy, and inside the candy you put a word. So it's like the town where they're selling the candy goes inside it. So we say if you cut it in half, it says KW. It says you'll have to look it up. I'll send you a link on Instagram. But thank you so much for sharing. It was very powerful, very enlightening. A lot of information for everybody to follow up on that. So thanks again.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Barkley.
me.
And next up, we have the beautiful Farah Belizario will be coming on, and she will introduce us to Maximilian Stalinsky, who's going to be talking about expired to exclusive. All right, so we're going to take a few minutes of a break, and we will be right back.
So I apologize. I'm all jamming out to music. I hear music playing, and apparently that's not coming through for everybody. Like I said, we'll get these sound settings figured out for next time. Hate to keep everybody in the boring quiet like that. But I'm sure you had a lot to ponder from what Barkley informed us all about. And coming up next, we have Farah Belisario and Maximilian Stalinsky. Did I pronounce that right, Max?
Close enough, Maximilian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Farah, you are the Market Center Tech Trainer for Palm Beach East, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. And again, thank you, Maximilian, for joining us as well. This is going to be awesome. So let's get started. Max, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, where do I start? So I was born in Germany. Came over to Florida about 6 years ago. I was in corporate America back then, and once I set foot into Florida, fell in love with real estate, did my license, and dove right into it. So I've been with the Market Center now for I think it's 3.5 years.
That's amazing. I'm really literally going to jump right in because I feel like you and I've talked before and you have so much interesting information to share. So, my first question to you is I think when new agents start their journey, it's very easy to get bogged down in all the decisions of how to attack real estate. How did you land on attacking real estate through expired listings?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, for me, not really having a sphere or anything here when I set foot into Florida, it's not like I had any friends from high school or any other activities here, that I could bank on. So I didn't really have a huge sphere that I could start working off. I figured, what, I need to build that database. Was starting from zero basically, and so I started attacking for sale by owners and expireds at the same time. That's how I grew my business, and then gradually started leaning more into expired than for sale by owners.
That's very cool. So what are some of the initial steps that you take to like approach and identify expired listings that you're going to call?
Yeah, so for me, it basically comes down to schedule, right? So every day, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, I hit the phones. So I'm actually right now in front of my prospecting station. So right now is my core prospecting time from 8 until 12. It's when I make all my calls. It's just, it comes down to numbers essentially, right? So I have like a 25-mile radius around my base. That's where I get all these expired. I buy lead information or contact information so I can make those phone calls. I buy them from, I used to have them from Vulcan 7. I switched over to Espresso Agent just recently. Same data, same quality. Then I just put them all, upload them into my dialer, and make those calls every day from 8 until 12.
How much do you think that your schedule impacts your success? Because I feel like it's very interesting and it can be really hard to achieve for most agents to be able to stick to that schedule and have that accountability. Do you attribute it to your success a great deal?
Yeah, I don't think without it, it would be, maybe it would come out in a different form. But for me, it's the thing that works. To have that. I try to follow that schedule religiously. So I need to hit my contacts every day, right? So for me, my goal, for instance, is I need to hit at least 30 contacts a day. And when I say contact, that's if I want to talk to John Smith, I'm actually getting John Smith on the phone. It might take me a couple of dials because not all the phone numbers are great, but that's what I do. And for me, what has helped me is to kind of gamify it, because it can be, honestly, it can be boring. You're in front of the dialer, you're making all these calls. Not every person you're talking to is obviously excited to talk to you, especially with expired. So because they get like 40-50 phone calls a day when they're fresh, and so you really have to be first voice. That's why I started 8. That's in compliance with the law. And when you're the first voice, you got a good shot at least getting your foot in the door. I never try over the phone to get a listing. That's like a pressure tactic, doesn't really work, at least not in my experience. What I try to do is I just try to listen where the pain point was. There's always a reason why a listing expired, right? And many times it's a price, but many times it's also something else. It could be really bad marketing. It could be that the seller had a falling out with their agent. So I try to figure out in a couple of quick sequences, where's that pain point. Once I have the pain points, I want to figure out what is the motivation, why they wanted to sell originally. And if they tell me, well, I just wanted to fish for a great price, it's not a lead for me. Then I move on to the next one. But if I can determine there's good motivation there and I figure out what the pain point is, then I try to lean into that pain point and show them how I can resolve that for them and try to get a face-to-face. Once I have the face-to-face with them, that's when I shoot for the listing. I never do it over the phone.
So it sounds like when you're talking to them, you're kind of customizing your pitch. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you're going about and what that process looks like?
Yeah, 100%. So I always try to come from a place of curiosity. So, I mean, do you want to role play?
Sure, let's do it.
Putting you on the spot, right?
That's
All right,
fine. I'm
ring,
fine
ring.
with it. Hi. Hello. Who's this?
Hey, Farah.
Yes, this is Farah.
Hey, Farah. This is Maximilian. Yeah. Hi. I'm sorry if I'm calling you out of the blue right now, Farah, but I happened to see that your property just came off the market, and I was just curious. I'm a local real estate agent. Would it be okay if I asked you just a really quick question about that? Do you mind?
I'm not really interested at this moment.
Yeah, I completely understand. Listen, then I can imagine you probably received a ton of phone calls already. The reason why I was calling you is, I would imagine if you had received an offer about a week ago, you probably would have accepted it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'm, unfortunately, sometimes, properties don't sell, not because of the property. It's more about, maybe the marketing that was done or, something was not positioned right. So, if you don't mind, what I'd like to tell you is there's actually different approaches. We specialize in repositioning properties that have come off the market as expired or as unsold. And so if you're open to it and you're still interested in selling, I'd like to tell you more about it. Would that be okay?
I am still interested in selling, so yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, from there you kind of take it then to figure out, what was it in the seller's opinion, what was done wrong, right? And then I try to offer that I can give them my expert opinion why it didn't sell once I've seen the property, right? So, and I give them that free of charge. I try to tell them, it doesn't matter if you want to sell now or in the future. You can take that information and you can decide. I try to empower them, right? You can decide what is best for you and do just that. I never wanted to be the salesy guy over the phone that, is kind of smeary and trying to get an agreement signed right away or any of those like bulldozer approaches. So coming from the place of curiosity has helped me greatly, in my approach to get them to open up, warm up, and not just hang up. Because most of the time, the expired here's I'm a realtor, then boom, first thing is they just hang up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like that was a really easy objection for you because you sound like you're so good at it. What are some other objections that you hear pretty often, and how do you recommend other agents get over them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if somebody tells me I don't want to sell, then I try to attack it from a different angle because my job is to identify, do they really not want to sell? So I try to disqualify more over the phone than actually qualifying somebody as a lead. So what I mean by that is I try to I give them no oriented questions where it's easy for them to tell me exactly just that, right? So for instance, if you tell me, hey Max, I really don't want to sell, then I'm going to say, yeah, Farah, that makes complete sense. Hey, and honestly, even if you got a great offer at this time, you probably wouldn't even entertain it, would you? And then if you're really not interested in selling, you're going to tell me, yeah, that's right. You could give me $1 million. I wouldn't sell it right now. And that's when I know you're not elite. But if I tell you something in a no-oriented question and you're actually still interested in selling, you're going to tell me, well, wait, you have an offer, or there could be a good offer for me on the table somewhere here. Tell me more about that, you know? So no oriented questions are really powerful to kind of overcome or dig deeper on motivation. Then what I hear very often is, with interest rates being high right now, that a lot of sellers say, I don't want to sell right now. I want to wait for them to come down. And then, I used to try to convince them that it's not a good idea to wait for just that, and it never worked out. So what I did is, and I changed my approach, and basically you create a curiosity loop, and I say, well, could I share a concern that I see with that? And then most of the time they say, well, a concern, what are you concerned about? Right. And then I would say, well, if interest rates are high, and you won't believe this, but I speak to so many sellers every day, every week. And you know what the number one objection, or actually, I don't use the word objection when I sell them, but do you know what the number one reasons that sellers tell me why they don't want to sell right now? And they go,
What?
no. And I say, well, guess what? It's the high interest rate. Everybody tells me they're waiting for interest rates to come low or come down. And do you happen to have an idea if everybody tells me that right now, what's going to happen once interest rates actually come down? Yeah, you're going to say, well, probably everybody's going to the market, right? So with more inventory, you have less chances of actually getting a premium on your house. So that's kind of where I try to drive the conversation in. Again, not trying to be, I'm trying to be very careful at just pointing that out. I don't want to come across as a teacher to them, or, tell them, hey, this is how it works. That's not
Right.
my job. I want them to open up, and I want them to see a different side and get that appointment. That's all I'm going for.
I love that. So, it sounds like you're making a lot of calls just from what we've talked about in the past. Can you tell me how many calls do you think you make a day and a week and a month? Just calls, just
Yeah,
dials.
sure. Oh, just dials?
Well, dials and calls that you're actually connecting
So on
with people.
average, I make about. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. So I make about, like, on average, between 800 and 1,000 outbound dials a day. I get connected to probably, it depends on the day, but it could be anywhere between, I don't know, let's say 80 to 100. And then from the people that I actually speak to, that I want to speak to, right? I want to talk to Jim Jones, and I get Jim Jones on the phone. It's
Yeah.
somewhere around 30, 40. Yeah.
That's it, because now it's sounding like it's a big numbers game, right? So you're making all these dials to whittle it down to the actual amount of people that you're going to talk to. But in order to talk to those
100%.
amount of people, you have to make the dials.
Yeah,
That's
you
absolutely
you're
amazing.
right. It's a numbers game. You're pushing volume at that point. But the beauty of it is, because you're pushing so much volume, if you're disqualifying those contacts properly, you're getting really good lead quality. So, like, for instance,
Right.
I started cold calling last year, just about a year ago, actually. And over that period of time, I've created or generated almost 400 leads, really good seller leads. And there's a maturity pipeline that I'm building as well, right? So there's not every lead that I've had, they went back to the market. Most of them said, well, we're going to wait for whatever reason, And so over time, they're going to mature, and it's an excellent way to build your pipeline.
It is. I mean, it sounds like it's absolutely amazing. And just to share with everybody, you currently have 12 listings totaling over more than $4 million in volume, which is absolutely amazing. So I know we talked about the way you have conversations now. Were there scripts that you recommend that newer agents start out with, or dialogues that you like that you can share with us after the call?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, honestly, in my experience, the exact words of the script, they're great to get started. But once you get an idea of where you need to drive a conversation, or what are the points you need to hit, it doesn't really come down to the words. It comes more down to the tonality. So, like, for instance, what I do a lot is, when I speak to somebody over the phone, and I try to mirror them. That's really important, because you want to get that person comfortable on the other side. So let's say if you and I talk and you say, "Hey Max, hello," it's slow, right? And like kind of laid back. I try to be laid back too. I say, "Hey Farah, sorry to call you out of the blue right now. Just had a really quick question. Would that be okay?" I mean, obviously that's the extreme, right?
Yes.
But you're trying to mirror and match, because it's so funny, but people get, obviously there's no face. It's a call out of the blue. They've never heard me, never seen my face. Most likely you're going to forget my name very soon if I don't call them again. So to give them that level of comfort mainly comes through the tonality. If I have somebody that is super high pace, I want to be high pace too. And it's like, "Hey Farah, yeah, absolutely, yes, bum, bum, bum," So that's a big thing. And when you do that, the that is more important really, or how you emphasize certain words. How you got to give that person the illusion of being in control of that phone call, so they don't hang up. Obviously, you know where to go, right? You follow your script and the structure of the call to get it to that point that they invite you over, and you can have a face to face. Those are like the mechanics of it. They're more important than the actual words that I'm saying.
And that is something that's so poignant because I don't think anybody would naturally think that. Because I think a lot of the time we come into real estate thinking we have to be a go getter and we have to attack it. But sometimes attacking it is, like you said, mirroring their energy. And especially for someone like me who's a type A personality, maybe it wouldn't be the best idea to get on and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Finger guns everywhere. So that is
Right. Yeah.
awesome to hear. What I was going to ask you about is follow up because you did mention talking to them again. What does your follow up look like after that first call?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I qualify them as a lead, so I have my lead sheets, right? So I write everything down on the piece of paper here as I do the call, right? All my notes and everything, and then I give it to my admin later, so we upload it into the system for follow up. Once we have completed the conversation, I sent them my resume. So a lead, maybe to say that as well. To me, a lead is I have email, phone number, address. There's a clear motivation to sell, and there's an opportunity to interview, meaning that they're not committed to an agent. And it doesn't matter if they tell me my brother, my friend, whoever's a realtor. I don't care about that. That's an objection I hear all the time, and I have no problem overcoming. But I want to know that there's an option, that they're not dead set on going with the same agent that didn't sell before. So when I see that, that's a lead to me. Oh, and of course, I need to have permission to follow up. If they tell me, "No, don't bother even calling again," then that's not a lead, even though it checks every other box. Now, with that being said, is after I hang up, when I do my lead cleanup, which is after my 4 hours, right around noontime. Right now, I'll be doing my lead cleanup where I sent them my resume. That's a PDF attached to an email and a short little video of me. And then I sent them a handwritten thank you card. I actually just started writing some of them. And it says in there basically, hey Farah, thank you for taking my call today. Appreciate you sharing your plans about the sale of your property with me. And then, something that came up during the call, I put that in there, like a short little note. And then, when the time is right, I'd love to get a face-to-face with you and show you our marketing approach and why it's been so successful. Thank you for your consideration. Highest regards, Max. That's it. I sent that out, and then I used that as my first follow-up point. So even if they tell me, "Call me again in 6 months," I don't care. I sent this out. 2 weeks later, they get a phone call from me. "Hey, Farah, hope everything is well. Just wanted to make sure. Did you get my thank you card?" And I say, "Oh, that was you? Oh yeah, that's a thank you. Yes, I got that. Yes, absolutely." And so you have your first connection point right there. And then I call them again a month later.
That sounds amazing as well because it sounds like you're using a framework and you're just following the framework for everybody you connect with. Now, I really want to talk to um, you about what happens after you get the appointment, after you set the appointment and meet the potential client. Like, can you walk us through that? Like, what is your listing appointment like?
Yeah. So it kind of depends, right? If I talk to somebody that is well, I guess we're talking about expired. So for expired, the way I do it is I have everything printed with me. So there's a whole presentation that it's going to be in a little book that I'll leave with them to review after I've left. At the same time, most important thing is to already have the listing agreement ready to go and printed as well. And yeah, you can, obviously commissions are negotiable, so you can leave that blank for now, but everything else is prepared. That's the most important piece. If I walk into, and I did this mistake in the beginning, I walked into listing agreements, thinking, well, I can just send you the DocuSign link. No, you need to have it with you ready to go. And if you don't, then you're just badly prepared. So I have that with me. Then I have a listing presentation on my laptop. I show that. I leave the book with them to review later. But we go through it, and I have certain checkpoints in my listing presentation where if I basically, if I get a go, like internally a go on these checkpoints, I know I'm going to get the listing. So for instance, I go in, we go over the market, and I will ask them, well, does this all make sense to you? Do you agree, or do you see the market trending in the same way? And I mean, obviously it's data, right? There's not an opinion about it. It's just data. So
Right.
when I see that they're saying, yeah, no, this all makes sense. Yeah, prices are going down, inventory is going up, I agree. All right, cool. First checkbox. If they tell me no, then I'll go back and I'll ask, okay, so just so we're on the same page, like where, what is your thinking on this when you see this data? If they tell me no, prices keep going up, because the data is clearly there showing that's not the case, So another checkpoint would be when we go over the comps, I make sure to lean in that they, so I position my comps in a certain way. The best one, obviously, I need them to have a competitive price in order to be able to sell. So the best one that kind of maybe outshines their property a little bit is going to be my last comp. Right. So as I go through these, I ask for the opinion, and to have an honest conversation about, why their property should be positioned here when everybody else is there, or whatever the case may be. And then I show them my marketing plan, how I would reposition their property, and then I ask them basically if does all of this make sense? Is this fair to you? And when they say yes, that's checkbox number 3. Then I know I have them. So then I just say, okay, well, here's what I suggest. Here's the commission. Here's your net sheet. When do you want me to take pictures? And when they say, well, let's take pictures next Tuesday, then I already know, okay, this is the done deal.
That's awesome, because now I kind of get that idea of that full circle experience, especially with expires from the initial phone call all the way through. Now, I do want to backtrack. I did forget to ask you a couple of questions. I didn't know you send your resume over after you call. What is on your real estate resume?
So the resume is basically just it has information about my broker. It has information about me in it. It has examples of how I do marketing, and of course the sales success. To tell you the truth, I mean, probably 7 out of 10 people that receive my resume, they don't even remember they had it, but it's a great way for me to get their email. And now I have, multiple avenues to stay top of mind. Because just like the gentleman that was speaking before me said, you have to stay top of mind, whether you do that through social media or phone calls or emails. That's what you need to do. And so it's, for me, it's another avenue, to do just that.
For the video that you share, is it templated, like a templated intro video, or is it specific to every single lead that you're working with?
No, it's super simple. I mean, the first one that I had, I literally just took my phone and I recorded, hey, this is Max. It was really nice speaking to you. Thanks for taking my call. When the time is right for you, would love to have a face-to-face and, discuss your plans. That's it. And there's no perfect video or a magic word. I mean, I took like 10 attempts the first time I did this. I thought I looked stupid in all 10 of them. And then I said, whatever, I'm just going to use it. Doesn't matter. And I have it linked. So I have, I created a YouTube channel, and on the YouTube channel there, you can hide certain videos. So that's a hidden video that if you search my channel, you won't see that video. But if you click on it in my email, you will see the video. So that's what I did. It's not embedded, like I think BombBomb is one of these functions where you can do that. It's not like that. It's very basic.
My other question to you, especially because you do make so many calls, how do you get over like a sense of rejection?
Well, it's part of the game. I mean, you get rejection every day when you do this. I feel like being a realtor, the number one job is to be able to overcome rejection. With expireds, obviously, it's very extreme. I mean, I have people yelling at me, cursing at me, all that stuff.
No.
But I know it's not personal. You know, they're frustrated that their property didn't sell, and
Yeah.
it's not like they're calling me whatever kind of word because I'm calling them. No, that's just a valve for them in that moment to get rid of it. So I'm helping them, you know, to feel better about themselves. That's all right.
That's very cool. One of my questions that I have here that I thought was really cool is how do you balance patience and persistence? Because I think, especially for our newer agents, it can feel very easily like you're not getting anywhere with your efforts and it can be a deterrent. How do you balance those two things?
So there's 100% going to be a point in time where you feel like you're treading water, and that point may come back. It's just for me, what has helped me get over that is, as you know, I follow my numbers very closely, and everything that I do in regards to prospecting, I track, and because I track these things, I know how many contacts I need to have in order to have a signed listing. I know how many contacts I need to have a closed sale. And you know, these numbers build up over time, obviously. So even if I have a couple of days, for instance, this month, you know, I had probably 4 or 5 days at the beginning of the month where I made all these phone calls, you know, 30, 40 contacts a day. I didn't get a single lead. So, you know, it didn't work because I know in the grand scheme of things, the big numbers, they always pan out. So, I mean, for instance, today I had a shorter calling period, but I got a flood of leads. You know, like I called for like 2 hours, and I probably got 7 leads this morning. So it just
Oh,
balances out
man.
every time when you, yeah. So it just balances out. And for me to keep track of my numbers, it helps me to keep me accountable in what I do, but it also helps me to keep my eyes on the price, right? I don't get discouraged because I didn't sign a listing agreement last week, or whatever the case may be, because I know I just need another 110 contacts to get my listing agreement signed.
So I know you and I have spoken a little bit about your tracker system. Can you tell me, I know you can't share your screen, but can you tell me a little bit more about it and tell me what you're tracking and why it's important?
100%. Yeah, it's very basic. So just every day I keep track of, I think it's 5 essentials. So number one, the time that I've prospected. So the hours that I put in. Number two is the contacts that I've made. So I want to talk to Jim Jones. I got Jim Jones on the phone. That's one contact. And then how many leads have I generated from those contacts? How many appointments have I generated? And then how many appointments were actually met, and how many listings agreement have I signed? So on a rolling basis, this is gonna, if you do this every day, like I do, you will have, tons of data in there, and you'll get those averages that I just mentioned, where if you do the work, you're gonna get the results without question. So every day it's like an Excel sheet. I do that, so I track it by month, and then it rolls up into my year-to-date numbers. Basically, that's what I track.
And what are some of the results that you've seen from the statistics? Because now, because you're doing it every day and you're tracking it every day, now you have some strong statistical data and history about you prospecting. What are some things that you've learned, some insights you've gained from that data?
So for instance, I noticed lately that my contacts to appointment set ratio was off. It was awfully high. So I needed like 100 leads, or I'm sorry, 100 contacts to set one appointment. It should be around 50. And I go back and I take notes of how I do my prospecting. It's not like I write a book every day. I just a couple of
Yeah.
notes, something just for me to remember by the end of the month, when I do like a monthly business review. What have I done? What has happened? What was good? What was not good? Just plain and simple. And I keep these notes. So when I make a change in my prospecting, or the way I try to go about my calls. It's important for me to have these notes because I want to see the effect the next day or 2 days after. It's going to take a couple more, maybe weeks, for that to really see it in a larger scale. So then I can see when I make my changes, is it actually benefiting me or is it not good for my business? So in this regard, my context to appointment set ratio, it was off. And the reason for that is because my follow-up was really lagging, for the last 6 weeks or so. So I see that in my data now because I track all of that. Or in the very beginning, I had a very, very low contact to lead generation ratio. So let's say for every I think it took me like seven contacts to generate one lead. That is super low. It's a very aggressive number. So I looked at it and I said, well, are these really all leads? And then I realized, what, I'm actually overqualifying here. I'm putting too many people into my pipeline and these are not all real leads. The problem is if I do that, it's going to take up more time from my prospecting because I need to do lead follow-up. So I'm following up with people that are not really leads. And my number should be around 10 contacts to one lead. It's a pretty good ratio. And so I just try to, make sure that I stay within those parameters when I do my prospecting and improve myself. The most important thing for me really is, aside from the numbers, there's always going to be an objection that you've heard for the first time. And when that happens, I write it down. And then after I'm done prospecting, there's nothing that stops me in my prospecting time. But once I'm done prospecting, I'll write down, 3-4 different handlers for that objection. And I just learn it like a crazy man. So I write it down on cards and then I just learn so that next time I won't be surprised again and I can handle that objection better.
That is super smart. So are you researching the objection handlers online? Or are you coming up with them yourself based on your knowledge?
So I'm part of a coaching program. And in that coaching program, there are great agents, great coaches, and I can throw it out there, or I can ask, like search the community basically if somebody had the same objection. So like for instance, the last one that I had is, it's so basic, it's probably embarrassing to say it, but it was, I'm already talking to two other agents, and then, like the first thing I remember when this is like last week. So when that came up, I was like, do I really want to waste my time on chasing after this being number 3? But then I said, you know what? There could be 2 really bad agents. What if I'm the only good one, that can really help this
True.
guy? So
100%.
yeah, so a way to overcome it then is, and this was from our coach. So you open it up. Hey, can I ask you a question about that? And they go, sure, because you open that curiosity loop. And then the one way to handle it could be, hey, is your goal? This guy was telling me that he already had 2 on I think it was a Saturday. I called him on Monday. 2 agents that already came by. I said, well, the objection could be, is your goal to find just any agent that's the fastest to come to your house, or is your goal to find the best agent to sell your house? And obviously they're going to say, well, my goal is to find the best agent to sell my house. And then I'm going to say, well, okay, since you're looking for the best one, is there any downside? Again, no oriented question. Is there any downside in talking to me so you can see for yourself, who really has the best approach to get your property sold? So that's just one way of handling it.
I've heard you mention non-oriented questions quite a bit. I think it can be a confusing concept for some. So can you explain it a little more?
Yeah. So instead of going for the yes, right? I want this appointment, Farah. So can I come over? You don't want to get sold over the phone, right? So instead, if I said to you, well, Farah, it sounds like you still want to sell your house, but maybe now is not the right time. So I'm guessing even if I showed you right now in this market how you could actually get a premium, there's probably no reason, it wouldn't make any sense at all in the world for you to just even take a look at it for 15 minutes, right? No obligations. I'm just asking, right? And so when you phrase it, obviously this, I'm exaggerating here right now, but if you do it this way, you kind of spin it around, you're already assuming the no and leading, the person you're speaking to down that path. If they're really motivated, they're going to come around and say, oh, wait a minute. No, I'm actually interested to hear what you have to say.
Oh, that's
And they don't feel
super
like they're getting
smart.
sold because because I didn't tell you want to see me. You told me just now that you're actually interested in seeing what I have to say.
That's very smart. I said non-oriented, but you literally mean no-oriented questions in order to get them to answer no. And if they're yes, they kind of qualify themselves through that.
Correct.
That is really, really cool. I wanted to know, is there anything else that you feel like that you want to share with us? I probably have a few more questions, but any other things, any more tips and tricks that you would recommend to new agents getting into the expired listing game?
I mean, for me, what has helped me really is the tracking of my numbers to know where I'm lacking or missing out. You got to have a good mix between making fresh contacts and doing your follow-up. So like, for instance, I try to have at least 20, 25 fresh contacts every day. So that means that I'm building up my pipeline. And then my additional contacts beyond that, from 25 to 30 or to 40, that's going to be my lead follow-up. If you don't mix it, and you're just leaning into one side, I made that mistake in the beginning. I was doing all fresh contacts. Then of course there's no point in generating these leads in the beginning or in the first place. If you're not following up, the money's in the follow-up. So if you don't do that, that's the core activity of why we should be doing this. So it seems so trivial, but it took me a while to really understand how and why I need to do this properly. Then what also really helps is to mix your lead sources. If you're calling FSBOs, expireds, it can feel like at times you're getting beat up on the phone, over the phone. So if you wanted to mix it up with absentees, those are really, really nice conversations typically, because they don't get hammered on the phone. There's not 50 realtors calling an absentee owner or downsizers. Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you mix your sources, there can be pleasant avenues in making these calls. It's not all a fist fight.
Yeah. Last few questions. I know you talked a bit about coaching. How pivotal do you think coaching is in your success?
I can 100% say if I hadn't signed up with this coach, I would probably be out of business by now, because what this guy taught me and how he kept me on track. Accountability is such a big thing in our industry that kind of gets, I don't want to say overlooked, but you don't realize how huge accountability is unless you're really in it, unless you're doing what you're supposed to do. And being accountable to yourself, but also being accountable to others it's a key part to be successful, I believe. And so that's where this coach really came through for me and helped me.
Is this your first coach as a realtor ever in life, or you've gone through a couple of coaches to kind of like find which shoe fits the best?
So I mean, I had a corporate background, so I've had many coaches through my corporate background. But in real estate, aside from the coaching that I've received inside the Market Center, this is the first one-on-one coach that I've hired. And now I chose that gentleman in particular because I wanted somebody that teaches me about the daily grind, the in and out. Right? I wanted to be with somebody that's in the trenches with me, that also does cold calling, that knows what kind of objections are coming my way, and basically somebody that's really hands-on for this outbound prospecting approach that I chose for myself. And I didn't want, I know there's so many avenues how you can be successful in real estate, whether it's you're really good at social media or whatever you do. It all comes down to the same thing in the end, right? If I did this video thing, which is not for me, that's why I do the calling thing, but if you do videos and social media posts, you still got to post every day, multiple times, so it's not like it's less work. It's just a different kind of work. So if you prefer posting 5 to 10 videos a day or a week, I don't know what the game plan there is, it basically comes down to the same effort, and the same consistency that you need in order to be successful. And I just chose prospecting or cold calling for myself.
That's Absolutely amazing. And I think it's going to be it is. No, I think it's so great for newer realtors to hear about it and see it, how it functions and how successful it can be. I want to ask you a quick question about your database. How important, and then yeah, quick question about your database. How important do you think it is to keep your database up to date? How much do you work on your database, cleaning it up, entering information about your contact, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's key. It's the core of my business. So I work on it every day because I need to do my follow up every day. I add new leads every day, um, and I go through, try to find inactive or maybe even bad leads, maybe that like we call them forced leads. If I force the lead into my database and I realize, you know what, this is not really somebody that actually wants to sell, and I try to get rid of them and take them out of the database. So a good quality database is, I mean, that's pure money. Because it's going to mature at some point.
So have you completely not stopped working kind of with your sphere and you only do expireds pretty much at this point?
Well, I don't have a huge sphere. So as I do business and my business is growing, I'm adding to my sphere. I very happy past clients. So they start referring me now. I'm starting to see the first effects of that now. But to effectively grow the database to a couple of thousand really good leads in there, I need to keep cold calling for a few more years until I've reached a point where the database is large enough, where you can generate just business from that.
And I know before you talked about the objection of the person dealing with other realtors. How, in general, do you deal with areas and realtors where you feel like there's a lot of competition in that area in general, even when you're working on getting the listing or being at the listing? If there's a lot of realtors working towards that one listing, do you disqualify them? How do you go about working and trying to get that client to become a lead?
I mean, I think it comes down to mindset, right? So when I go into a listing appointment, if I'm personally not convinced that I'm the best fit for that person to actually get the property sold, then there's no point in going in there, because they will, I don't want to say they will smell blood, but they will definitely see if you're not 100% convinced about what you're about to tell them. You're out the door. I mean, for expireds, especially when you go into the higher price segments, you're easily competing with 20, 30 different realtors that are also interviewing for the job sometimes. And it's not always that the best and the ones with the most incredible sales record get the listing in the end. It's many times it happens that you're just the one that clicks with that client, that where you have some sort of connection, and you get them to trust you, and all they want is to know that they're going to be in good hands with you. You're going to do everything in your power to make sure this house sells, and you're doing what you're telling them that you're going to do. Because like most of the time what I hear from expireds is, oh, my realtor didn't communicate with me, my realtor didn't even take professional pictures. Like I see so many iPhone pictures on listings, Farah, it's insane. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I spoke this morning to a gentleman. He had a $700,000 condo
Right.
that he was selling in Palm Beach, and I looked at the listing as I was speaking to him over the phone, and I pointed that out. I said, "Well, this is horrible. These pictures they don't do any justice." And so that's an easy one, right, to crack. And the problem then is, every realtor tells you nowadays, well, I have the best pictures, the best videos, blah, 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 right? So you
Right.
can't really, this is like a standard that you have to meet. It's not like that helps you to differentiate yourself from anybody else. Also,
Right.
when you're saying, I give the best client service, well, I'm pretty sure the next 19 realtors are going to say the same thing.
Right.
So know your niche. That's the easiest way to get started, right? If you hunker down on a niche, and build your business from there. So for instance, right now, the condo market is in big disarray here in Florida. And there are so many realtors that I meet that have no idea what the ins and outs about that are about. And
Right.
so if you can position yourself in a listing appointment, hey, I'm not your average Joe realtor. I'm a specialist when it comes to listing condos. And I know how to make sure to reduce your liability, Mr. Seller, in the sales process and what I need to look at so that you don't fall into any traps, with all the law changes that we've had recently. That's a big thing, and that's how you can, it's just one example. Obviously you can do, there's so many niches out there, but that's how you can position yourself as somebody that, for that particular piece of real estate really knows what they're talking about.
So understanding if you're going to identify with a niche, educate yourself about that niche, and then so that you're able to speak to it in a really professional way. That sounds awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with me? We'd love to hear any other tips and tricks that you had. I know you already shared some. Any tricks and tips and tricks that you have about accountability and sticking to your guns with your calls in the morning? Because I feel like that's a big, huge piece of this.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the KW core essentials, right? You got to have a business plan, you got to have your goal, and you got to
Right.
boil down what do you need to do on a daily basis to be able to achieve that goal. And you also got to be honest. I mean, there's not a day, or let's put it this way, I've not had a month where I had found myself in 100% adherence of what my business plan is. And then you just got to be honest about that too. And you also got to be honest about how you're going to make up for that. So like, let's say for instance, the month of February for me was really rough. We're going through some stuff on our side, and I didn't find enough time, between hospital and home to prospect. And so if I have a goal and for the end of the year, and I really mean it, that goal means a lot to me, then it's natural that I have to make up for that. So I had to prospect on weekends. I had to catch up essentially to be able, for the days that I missed, that I'm back on track. And an honest truth is, if you have this goal, but you don't have the desire to make up for that gap that you're realizing, then it's not your goal. You're just putting out a flashy number, that you want to achieve, oh, I want $1 million. Okay, great. Well, what are you going to do for that? And if you don't do the work, then it's not really your goal. It's very simple.
So I hear you saying basically that it can't just be a monetary goal. You have to attach it to something. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the why, the greater good
Right.
of why we're doing things. And it's so hard, at least for me, it's so hard to find that great why. I thought many times that I had it, but only to realize that it's not it. So and for me, I guess for everybody there's a different way to do it, but for me, what I've realized is I need my big why that guides me in the direction where I want to go. But at the same time, I'm always on the jump, so I need to have a snack in between. You know what I mean? I need to have a short-term goal as well that I can achieve. And it could be as simple as, well, today I want to hit 50 contacts in a day. That could be a goal
Right.
for the day that is set. Or it could be, this week I want to go on 6 listing appointments. And when you build towards these things, then the rest will follow naturally. But the most important thing is you set these goals, and you really got to do what it takes in order to achieve them. And when you have your numbers, it's very easy to break down what you actually have to do to get there. And then you just have to be honest with yourself about it.
I love that you said that, because I think having that big why initially sounds super easy, right? Well, I want to make $1 million, but to your point, like that's not necessarily what's going to get you up out of bed. I also really love that you said that you break down your goal. So when you're breaking down your goal, do you have like a goal for the year, and then maybe you break it down for 6 months, per month? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I have my business plan for the year,
Right.
and I break that down. How many contacts for the whole year do I need in order to get to that point, right? And
Right.
it's based on my averages. I know how from these contacts, how many leads do I need to generate, how many listing appointments do I need to generate, how many listings actually taken do I have to have from that. And of course, not everything, especially in this market that we put on the market, not everything sells, right? So
Right.
I also got to account for that, that there's not 100% of my listings will sell. So I build it basically like we've all been taught in KW courses and in classes, how to build that business plan. I do it exactly the same way. It's just listing heavy. I focus on the listing side, I did that before the current settlement came out, the news about what that means for buyers agents, because I wanted to control my pipeline. So 90% of my business is on the listing side, and I only in the past I've only taken buyers really if it was a referral or I knew that person. I'm not prospecting for buyers.
That is very cool. My question also is, so do you have like mini personal whys that you're trying to achieve within your year as well?
I do, yeah. So I mean, I have a vision board, and that vision board is as cheesy as it may sound, but it really helps to have. I have it actually right in front of me, in front of my prospecting station right now. And so, every day when I turn on my station and I make those calls, and when I get beat up, sometimes it's good to look at my vision board and this is really what I want. Whether it's a nice vacation with my wife and our little boy, or anything that makes them happy. Those things are on the vision board, that I want to contribute, and it helps me to remember myself about why I'm doing this and why I need to do the work, and not just talk about it.
When you say vision board, I legitimately think like cutouts with like glue and like, really? I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. Hi guys, welcome
Vision
back.
boards are not cheesy. They are absolutely a necessity. I love vision boards. I think they're a great way, because your goal is just a dream if you don't have it in front of you every day, right?
That's true. Yep. It's the carrot in front of you.
True. Wonderful. Thanks guys for joining us back. Hi Brett. Hi Peter. Hi Ryan.
Yay, our fearless leader is here. He's been traveling all morning.
Oh, nice. And you're in front of a nice little KW sign. Very cool. That worked out. We can't hear you.
Awesome. Well, Maximilian, thank you so much. That was fantastic information. I will say, because this one kind of got me too. So I'm going to throw this up here and let you address it. Are there really 800 to 1,000 expired listings to call every day?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Easily, I think it's got to be more than that even. But I mean, that's like for the whole, like between Miami and Jupiter, I think you're probably pushing more than that. But I don't call all of them, right? I have in my area properties, like I'm not going to drive 4 hours for a listing appointment. It's just not going to work. It's not going to be efficient for me. So by driving volume, I need to make sure that I stay within parameter around my base, and so that's what I focus on. But I think the number maybe gets confused with the 800 to 1,000 dials that I make a day. Because what I try to do is I call somebody. So I want to talk to Jim Jones. Jim Jones may not pick up the first time I call him, so I have to call him 2, 3, 4, 6 times, until he picks up the phone. So that's maybe where that number got confused.
Got it. So that clarifies it. Thank you. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing, and you'd have to have a territory as broad as you just mentioned to be able to find that many, right? If they were all individual. But yeah, being multiple dials for the same person to try to get them on the phone. Thank you for that clarification. Right. And then just some props from Lisa. Great information and motivation. Thank you both. You both did a great job. That was awesome. Ryan, can we hear you now?
I hope so. Can you?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
All right. Just my mic. Thank you guys very much. Max, proud of you. Good job. I've been listening all morning while I've been driving to the market center. I'm over here in the portfolio collection over in Miami today.
Very cool.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Max. It's always awesome to hear, and kudos to your ability to be self-accountable. That's a huge lift, and you're fantastic at it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, bye. Absolutely. Thanks for your time. All right, Farah and Max, thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
We're going to be running into, I guess we'll take a few minutes, right, in case anybody needs a break, and then we'll have a Q&A period. So if you are there and just want to start flooding us with your questions in the comments, that would be amazing. And we can address your questions, comments, and we might even pull in some more of our MCTTs in here to help out. So Ryan, anything you want to add?
I did get to watch the very beginning of this call, like at 9 a.m. because I was on a flight, but just wanted to take an opportunity to thank Brett and Peter for holding down the fort. They did an amazing job, as well as Farah. This year we are focusing on listings, so we're going to bring a lot of content around listings, and obviously today was lead generation, so we took a big dive into lead generation today. However, this Q&A session, I want to leave it open for any questions you guys have. So as we go into this, feel free, if you've got a question that has anything to do with real estate, command related, anything like that, feel free to bring it and we'll answer the questions. I've already got some questions prepared to answer, so we'll go into that to kind of get the juices flowing and then see what you guys have put into the chat. So we'll see you back in 5 minutes.
Awesome. And I think I have the music situated. So if you hear music, could you please just say, yes, I hear the music in the comments? That would be awesome. So
if not, we can just get Brett to sing the whole time.
You do not want that. Do you hear music?
I want Peter to. I think Peter's got that British accent. That would be fun.
I can't sing a note. So I don't hear music, Brett.
Okay, the music is not coming through. So anyway, well, you'll get a moment of silence.
Do you have the music in there from last time?
Yeah, actually, that part's probably in there. Let's see.
Oh, hang on, the music's there, but it's so quiet.
How about now?
That's it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Good. Got to figure it out.
So what was it? Levels?
No, this fancy equipment. It's just learning all the settings, right?
Cool. All right, so we're going to take a break. We'll see you exactly at noon in 4 minutes.
It's the only thing I know for sure. Baby, it ain't love, but I'm loving the way it feels. It ain't love, but I'm in it for all the thrills, yeah. Why does it have to be forever to count? It ain't love, but it's enough. Oh yeah, it ain't love, but it's enough. Oh yeah, kiss me right here, then kiss someone else. We don't know each other. If you disappear, I still have myself, or I can just look for another. They say love is never make it without someone wanting more, but I know my heart can take it. It's the only thing I know for sure. Baby, it ain't love, but I'm loving the way it feels. It ain't love, but I'm in it for all the thrills, yeah. Why does it have to be forever to count? It ain't love, but it's enough. Oh yeah, I need your love and I don't need your love. I need your love and I don't need your love. Oh, I need your love and I don't need your love. It's the only thing I know for sure. Baby, it ain't love, but I'm loving the way it feels. It ain't love, but I'm in it for all the thrills, yeah. Why does it have to be forever to count? It ain't love, it's enough. Oh yeah, it ain't love, it's enough. Oh yeah. Hey, this might come out as total madness, but just wait. I really need to tell you something. 'Cause I feel alone in a room, surrounded by people. I wanna know if you're feeling it too. Out on the roof, here with you, it all seems so distant. With you, under street lights, right next to the skyline. With you, yeah. I've been listening to so many of my days. Now you just my maker, believer. I don't make the innocent. Sorry, oh, won't you tell me how you do it? Now I'm high, but the buzz in the room, surrounded by people I couldn't care, yeah, but nobody but you. Sway, move me now, baby, dance, give into the moment. With you, under street lights, right next to the skyline. With you, yeah. I've been.
All right, we are back. So, there actually is a question that is in here. Looks like we've got some coming in. So that fantastic. Let's throw this one up just to adjust because I know it is something that people have been asking. So, is the website applet and command going to be more user friendly like it was in the original version? Because right now it is too cumbersome. I will admit that the user interface for the websites is it's very different. Takes some getting used to. However, it's not going to change that we're aware of. The reason it is the way that it is because it allows for kind of the ultimate in customization, which is what agents were asking for. And high-level customization doesn't typically come with a super simple interface. What would you guys say to that?
So yeah, you've got to balance those two objectives, and I think they've got it right because we really, really wanted the functionality. So many agents in my market centers were asking for the ability to create custom pages, to have HTML external content, iframes, to be able to embed video, and kind of all those features adds a layer of complexity to the user interface. But having said that, we could probably be doing more to help with training agents on using the interface. So reach out to your MCTT, and if you haven't got one in your market center, reach out to Ryan, and we'll try and find a way to get more focused training on actually using that product. I've been building websites for years, and I didn't find it like overly intuitive at the beginning. The fact it has a library of content which you can't actually access until you try put something on a page. So there is a library, but you can't see it. So it's there's a few little nuances. But overall, it's allowed us to build some really fantastic websites. Custom menus, custom content, blogging. Yep. The SEO is phenomenal. So there's so many benefits that go along with that pain point.
Yeah. The custom menus is a big thing because not only does it allow you just to customize the menu, I can create multiple different customized menus and then bounce back and forth depending on how I want it to be. Maybe I want my website to be seasonal and I have a custom navigation for different times a year or whatever. I actually have that flexibility to bounce back and forth between what the menu says.
Yeah, and I think saved searches linked to the menu so that you can really easily just go on your website, look up a particular nuanced version filter, if you like, of the listings. So by price point, by amenity, by area, you can then save that link and create a short link in your menu, which the SEO picks up. And I noticed on Google, I have 4 or 5 links underneath my Google listing now. I don't know what they call it, but that when it comes up on Google, the bit of text, the links are there. So it is reading the menu, which is really good. And then I've noticed with everybody's websites, if you search, the search term, the agent's name, or information about a team, the sites are ranking really, really well on the front page of Google, which is increasing our traffic. So
yeah, and
it's been an awesome thing overall. But I totally get that it's more difficult to use. So the answer to that is better training.
Yeah, agreed. The SEO is top notch.
I would say, Olga, I completely hear you. And since the beginning, once we released it, that was my comment to them as well. Is just that this is not going to probably be as user friendly for our agents. However, it does provide the functionality. And what I would suggest to you would be the same thing I would suggest pretty much on anything. Is I want you all to understand this is your product. This is something created for you. You got this. I mean, Command's yours. It was developed for you and by you. So all the things that are in there because you guys have asked for them. Now, if you don't know how you have a voice, what I would suggest is you go to ideas.kw.com and look in there. Again, that's ideas.kw.com. And you can post ideas in there, but I would suggest first that you search ideas and see if there's any ideas already in there that pertain to what you're asking, such as these websites, and make sure you pose what it is you'd like. And the more votes you get on that, the more likely those things are to be taken seriously. So you do have a voice, and it's not just here, because it's not going on deaf ears here, but you can actually voice that up on the website. And I will tell you, our high executive team is looking at that on a regular basis.
Yep. So Ryan, you said you had a list of questions. We don't really have anything coming
I
out.
do.
Yeah.
I see what Olga's saying here is I'm a nurse and an agent, and this requires a whole lot of tech IT training, and that's very much
high level.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we have already done some things to try and streamline some of that. Like if you go into your page for sites, you can see some more stuff has been added there to control some of the basic stuff up at the beginning. But if you want to really get deep on that, then you're exactly right. You need to get with your Market Center tech trainer, or see if your Market Center has somebody who'll do it for you, because you don't necessarily need to do that. If you're a nurse and an agent, it's not supposed to be your forte. I heard earlier he said the 5 things that he's responsible for. That's he's supposed to be lead generating, lead follow up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and practice role play. And it doesn't say any in there to build a website.
Right.
But you can leverage that through somebody else like a Peter or a Brett.
Yeah, so I was just going to offer, if you don't have an MCTT in your office, I'm not sure which office you're in, Olga, my website to book up my calendar is freetechconsultation.com. It's an MCTT support. It's completely free. And I will give you one-on-one training to get you up to speed with the user interface. So feel free to book a call and we'll help you out directly. But if you do have an MCTT in your market center, I don't want to overstep my position. So please reach out to them first. But either way, you'll get the help you need. Yeah.
Can you go ahead, Olga, and put your market center into the chat so we know which one we can get them in contact with you if needed?
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, as you know, even as tech trainers ourselves, I mean, that UI it took some getting used to for me, and I still fumble through it. So I totally get what Olga's saying. I think the best thing is for market center tech trainers when they have the time, and we're all busy individuals, so I get that. But really start creating like baby step videos of that UI and have those available as resources for your agents. I have a video on creating the custom navigation that I can follow up in the comments with. And there's other videos out there. Mike McPherson, who's an MCTT up in New England, he has one too. So, yeah. So we will get those. And the good news is that we meet pretty much every morning. So we're taking care of each other in this MCTT community too, so that we can help each other to help you agents.
Absolutely.
And there's leverage out there too. Olga says she's over in Farrer's Market Center, so she's well taken care of. It's just a matter of maybe not having the time to be able to do it herself. So if you want an option for do it for me, maybe one of these Market Center tech trainers can do that on the side for you and just set it up for you.
All right, sounds good. So what other questions have we got, Ryan?
So there's no other questions in there. So first of all, I'm going to go back to the very basics, because a lot of times we smart people tend to think that we're smarter than everybody else and think that there's no other big questions on there. So I'm going to go backwards and say, first of all, what is Commands? Somebody want to answer that?
Yeah, Command is our proprietary, built for us as the agents, end-to-end platform, from database to transaction management to post-close follow-up.
Okay, you want to put that in English?
Way to go on the elevator speech.
Perfect script, isn't it? That was totally off the top of my head, and you think that it was
How
something
about
like
layman's terms?
it really is. It's an end-to-end software solution to manage your entire real estate business.
Okay, perfect. Simple, right to the point. Yeah, so it is basically in your pocket because it's on your phone. You can have it right there. You can call people. You can manage your business right from it. It's a good job. So if I just started working with Keller Williams and I wanted to start generating leads, what would be the best way to start doing so?
Right. Well, I'll go into that one. So the memory jogger, which is a document available from your market center, it identifies 150 people that if you don't have in your network of what we call sphere, our people that we know, it allows you to find people to put into that memory jogger. So, for instance, when you first start out, our goal is to get 201 or more Met contacts with at least 80% health score and have them on a follow-up plan with a what they call DTD2, do the database 2, which is a dialing structure. So to get leads, you need to be talking to people, not to get them to do business with you directly, but to get them to refer people to you. You're building a referral network. That can be the mechanic that services your car, people who work in houses. AC guys are some of the best referral partners you can get because they arrive at a house, the AC is blowing up, and the customer's saying, I'm sick of this house, I'm going to sell it. The AC guy knows, right? So you want AC people, lawn people, members of the HOA board have influence there. People who work in financial services, so accountants, financial advisors, divorce lawyers, all these people are mentioned in the memory jogger, and we've just put a link. So I would, first of all, take out the memory jogger, fill out every name, phone number, email, occupation, and physical address that you can find on that memory jogger, enter them into your command database and tag them with their role. So what they do for a living and how you know them, and kind of group them together. So it might be people that you know from your hobby club, like fishing or sports or what have you. Or it might be people from an association. It may be people from your church. You can kind of tag. Then what you're then going to do is introduce to them the value that you bring to others so that they have you top of mind when they're having a real estate conversation with someone else. Because my wife, who walks the dogs twice a day, knows more about this community and who's going to sell and who's going to move than probably anybody, right? So she'd be a great referral. So, did you hear that motion detected at doorbell? That's walking the dogs again. So having a referral network built from the memory jogger, entered into your CRM to get 201 high quality contacts, which is name, phone number, email, physical address. We need to know where people live so that we can give them information about the market. And additionally, things like what they do for a living, social media profiles, and adding tags. It's all going to help you get that quality into your database. Your database then becomes the powerhouse to drive your business forward through referral. Now, those people may transact with you as well, which is a bonus, but what you're looking for is them to bring you customers. They're called advocate clients. They advocate for your business. So until you've done that, you should not do anything else. So no Facebook ads, no Google ads, no buying leads from you know where and all of that, because you have to have the basics at play first. And a lot of us try to do a shortcut, the easy button, and think, oh, I'll just go buy leads. Well, you may be giving up a huge proportion of your income to do that, and you're missing out on building a strong business that's going to support you year in, year out. So I noticed on the interviews this morning, they were talking about building their database for a period of time, prospecting until they can stop prospecting, because they've got sufficient number of people bringing them enough business to fill their day with listing appointments and buyer consultations. So yeah, get the basics out first. Make sure you've done all that.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And that was kind of the universal theme with all of our guests today, is it was all database driven. Don't, like you said, Peter, don't go out wasting money buying leads, because the market changes and all that stuff changes, right? the market changing drastically with the legal situations and everything else. And as Peter has mentioned previously, I think on another show that we do, those buyer leads from Zillow, those are going to become a thing of the past because they're not going to be allowed except to the particular listing agent. So all that kind of stuff is going away. And if you don't know how to work your database to get your own leads, then there's going to be problems. You really, I mean, we all know this, right? In life, the one person we know we can always rely on is ourselves, hopefully.
Yeah. So, I mean, this information isn't coming from me, right? So I've been working in real estate for 30 years this year, September. I started out with Prudential, which is an old school brokerage, from back in the day.
Became Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah. So we were taught that you've got to build a database, but back in then it was a Filofax. Do you remember them? Right. So you had this sort of thing, this black book with all your Post-it notes in, but essentially it was the same thing. So you went out and built relationships. You got qualified. You took as many courses as possible to understand and be skilled at what you're offering, and then you build a solid base of clients. And this is really just before the internet. The internet did get going in 94, but it really wasn't. It was dial up and it was, crazy. But where this comes from is the successful agents that I serve on a daily basis. I'm privileged to get inside of their minds and their businesses when I'm offering them tech support and help and, coaching. And I can tell you that the top agents all have a sphere of people to die for. They are literally, they treat them like gold. They send them information. They send them reminders about who they are and what they do. They have a follow-up system in place for them. They work on like a symbiotic relationship where that person is bringing business to them as an agent, but as an agent, they're bringing their customers to that other person. So it's like networking businesses. So it's the most powerful way of building a real estate business is through people. And I think for 10 years, we let technology get in the way. We thought there was a shortcut, and there isn't. It doesn't work. So you've got to do this. This isn't like it's recommended. It's essential that you have a solid database of more than 201 contacts with high quality data, with follow-up, and with in-person interaction with them. You've got to be calling them, not just texting or emailing. You've got to be actually calling them or meeting them, holding client events, client appreciation events, seminars in local venues where you bring your clients together so they can network together. It creates tremendous value, not only for you as an agent, but for your people to network with other people. So you build a community around you. And that's how the top agents become top agents. It actually isn't rocket science. It's simple, but it's really hard. It's hard work.
Yeah, that's what Gary says, right? Real estate is simple. It's simple, but not easy. And you just mentioned a whole bunch of things that we've actually done here on Take Command before. We've had client appreciation events. What was the other thing that you said? Anyway, everything that you just said, let's hit rewind on that. But everything that Peter just said, we've actually had Take Command events for all of that stuff and brought on special guests that are amazing at those things. So you can go back and check it. It's on the KW South Florida website under videos, right?
For videos, and it's also here in our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. It's probably harder to find it on our Facebook page. A lot easier to find it on our YouTube channel for Keller Williams South Florida region. One other thing that Peter hit on really well, and Brett, you brought it up as well, is something that falls in line on the MREA, which is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book written by Gary and Jay and Dave Jenkins. And in that book, when we go into a lead gen model, it talks a lot about the red light, green light. And red light, green light is talking about when to spend and when not to spend. And right there is we should, especially if you're starting out, you should not be spending money that you don't have on just buying your leads. You've got to, even Max came on and said he didn't know anybody. And Peter just told you exactly what to do there. Go and start finding all these vendors that you can partner up with. Find them that way. If you do have the ability to find your friends and family, get them. And he also gave you DTD2. Now, I know some of you guys on here, not all of you guys are brand new. Some of you have been around for a while. You got a huge database. What I found is sometimes for DTD2, that becomes cumbersome when you've got that many people in your database. So I kind of like to go back old school and look at the sphere of influence itself and strategize by putting them in buckets. Like I've got my A bucket, my B bucket, my C bucket, and I focus in on my A's and I call them weekly. My B's, I call them bi-weekly. My C's, I call them monthly, and my D's, I call them quarterly. So that is, I'm staying in touch with the most important people right now. So like my A's, there's probably about 20 of those people in there, and I'm talking to them regularly, like weekly. And those are my board members. Those are the people who keep me in business. And then I just expand out from there. If you don't know what that is, it's part of Ignite, or at least it was part of Ignite from the past, and it's my favorite part of doing it. DTT2 is also very helpful. But main thing is get into your database, get your 201 contacts in there, and start communicating with them immediately. And like Peter said, tag them like crazy. 4 tags are amazing.
Yeah. The other thing that I'd recommend is, so social media kind of changed, and the pandemic changed the way people meet and interact with each other. And a lot of people don't know many people. They get into real estate and they don't have a large natural sphere because, you know, in the years we've had recently, it kind of changed the way people connect. So one strategy is to think of B2B rather than B2C. So instead of trying to find clients, find other business relationships, because there are so many entrepreneurial people out there with side gigs and second businesses, or their full-time job is an entrepreneurial job. They're self-employed, like I said, an AC company or the self-employed yard company, is approach their business and leverage one of the tools that we have, which we can now feature vendors on our KW website, and it's like having your own marketplace. And you can, so like a soft sell approach, get the 80s reference, a soft sell approach to get into talking with somebody is to say, hey, I'd like to feature your business on my website, and I don't want anything in return for it. I just want to have you as part of my network of people that I recommend to my clients. I'd like to get your company logo, a little bit about you, and the link to your business. And that's a way of opening the door to have a conversation with somebody through their business. And what will clearly happen is you'll then get a reciprocal relationship growing, because people don't like being given something without giving something in return. So they're very likely to start referring back to you. So if you're kind of not overly social, and you're not, like a lot of people are social butterflies. Well, a lot of us are not. A lot of us are very introverted and have a very tight group of friends, and there's like 3 or 4 of them max. So you can't build up a 201 database with that. So use business to business. So approach them as your business to their business to then build a relationship with the human behind it. So it's kind of like it disarms the objection that you might feel inside, just directly talking to somebody.
That's awesome.
Talk about their business. So we've got that tool. It's a new feature that's built into the About Me page or the About Us page on the team sites. And it's a separate platform, and it creates it's kind of like a little blog post for each vendor.
Yeah.
And there is a link that you can then share with the vendor and say, hey, I've got this on there if you want to use it in your marketing materials. Get people to drive traffic to our website.
Potentially use that as maybe put a marketing service agreement in place, or MSA, to work with them to help build more content for that page as well. Because if they're doing some marketing with you, you should be able to get something back for featuring them on that website and being able to use that in other ways.
Imagine what your client events
leverage
could be
technology.
like, right? Imagine what your client events could be like if you're using those people to help you sponsor those events.
Yep.
I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, you're perfect. I think that's great what you just said, because that kind of goes back to what I was thinking, and what I wanted to say is go back to the things that you're doing really well. If you look, I'm sitting here and I have no microphone in front of me, but these 2 guys right here are like professionals. They got microphones sitting in front of them, but they do their podcasts and they do them regularly, and they're really good at them, as you can tell.
Real
It's not my
professional
sport.
with the hot mic because I was on my camera's mic instead of this mic.
It was great. It added some to the day. But what I want to say is that's what they do really, really well. There's some other ones out there that we've had on in the past that do that well too. Like Chris Cusmano's come
Yep.
on. We've had what's his name?
Justin Himmelbaum.
Himmelbaum's been on. We've had several of them come on that they're really good at what they do, whether it be social media or it be podcasting. Find something you do really well and you like doing, and do that. Focus in on one thing. There's a book they wrote. It's called The One Thing. It's really good about talking about that. So focus in on what your one thing is. If you don't like doing podcasting, if you don't like doing social media, like I'm not a big social media person. But one thing I really, really do enjoy doing, especially my time off, is kayaking. And just from going, especially with the weather warming up, it's getting to my season. I love kayaking. So what am I going to do with that is I can go join a kayaking club and be around other people who do it, or I get involved in my church. Whatever it is you do that and do it really well, but don't look at it as not an opportunity, even in the church. I mean, look at it as an opportunity for you to be able to lead generate through there in a passive way. You're not doing it like to be annoying. It's just because you're there and you're involved, you get to know the people. They go into your database.
Nope.
I just had a silly thought. It's okay. I'm going to keep it in here.
While he's thinking right there, I just want to comment. We got quite a few people on this call, and we are talking about lead generation specifically, and we're doing questions and answers. But if you have a question about anything, feel free to put that in the chat here. We'll answer anything. We're just filling this time with the questions I've prepared ahead of time, just to make sure that we are answering something on topic. But this could be about anything. You can talk to us about something not even related to lead generation if you'd like.
I did want to bring something up. It's just a quick story. So a brand new agent came on a call with me yesterday and said, how do I generate leads? I don't have any money, right? So we quickly identified that her best route to the quickest path to meeting new customers is open houses. Open houses have tremendous value, and there are some tools that we now have to help with doing that. So one of them is the command campaigns section, where even for a very low budget, $10, $15, you can input a listing and put the date and time and the physical address and advertise that with the 15-mile circle. It's kind of like a drive time around the listing. Do that for a week ahead of the open house and attract people through social media to bring them, Facebook and Instagram, to bring them to the open house. And then the second thing is, at the open house, when the customer arrives, it's set up a laptop or a tablet and look up the listing on your website that you're doing the open house in. That may be another agent's listing, that's fine. But if you look on your website and you're hosting the open house, that listing will be branded to you. And if you put /open house after the listing URL in the bar, it will create a sign-in sheet that will put the name and email and I believe phone number directly into your command database. And then you can trigger a smart plan that sends them information about you as an agent and local listings and the listing itself. Plus, there's like a QR code pops up, which they can scan with the cell phones. So Keller Williams has really been thinking about the open house and what tools we can provide, because I know people used to have to buy that. There was like open house sign-in programs that you would buy. Yeah. Or you'd have to build a custom landing page. It'd take forever. Now, literally 10 seconds /open house, you've got your sign in. So open houses, I had two starting points in my career. I started in England, then I moved to America. When I moved to America, I didn't know a soul. I mean, I came with my wife and kids and we didn't know anyone.
He was like, who are all these rebels?
Just these rebels. So I did open houses and floor time. So back in the day, floor time was more of a thing because people used to leave the houses instead of just looking at the phones all day long. But anyway, now it's open houses. So I did a bunch of open houses, and it's bottom of funnel leads. You've got a human in front of you who's interested in real estate for free. Like, that's what you need when you're getting started. So I would be doing 2, 3, 4 open houses a week. And I can tell you a funny story because I did them so often, and sometimes they were really busy. And so this was like the market was kind of messed up at the time. And I did this open house and fell asleep in a chair in the open house, and a customer walked in and woke me up.
Oh, love
Absolutely hilarious.
That
So-
never gets old.
It was hot. I wasn't used to the heat. I was in the front room and there was only one chair in the house. And I sat in this chair with the sun blaring through the window at me and passed out.
Drool
So,
all over his shoulder.
It's like, yeah. It wasn't as bad as that. But, you got to have fun with it. But yeah, open houses are really, really good. And there are,
I agree.
there are skills that you have to have when you're making that first conversation in the open house. And we offer training on that. Our market centers all have different trainings and different, talk to your team leader, your ATL, your MCTT, whoever it might be that you like getting your training resources from, and see if they can do some role playing where you talk about how you're going to conduct that open house. There's different strategies. Some people accompany the buyer.
We're going to go
around
into
the
that
house, some
too.
don't, Yeah.
We're going to have a take command on that. I
Mhm.
don't think it's the next one. I think it's the one after that we're doing on open houses. We're going to go deep
Perfect.
into that.
We have
Yeah.
the open house playbook too. Those playbooks are
Yep.
awesome. You can find those in Connect. If you're a KW agent, you can find those right under the Connect tab. Go to Connect and just type in the search playbooks, and all the different playbooks that KWRI has created for us are there. And there's a lot of great content in there. It's geared towards especially the new agent that doesn't even know where to start, and rightfully so.
Save that in there.
Yep.
Save that when
Yeah.
you get into the Connect too, because they update those regularly. So if you save them, then you can go right to the updated version. Also, one thing, I don't know if Barclay, I couldn't hear all of Barclay's, but I was getting my rental car. But when he was on there talking about open houses, I'm sorry, for sale by owners, that's one thing that I've used in the past as a value statement, is going to those for sale by owners and offering to do an open house for them. And they're kind of like shocked, like, why would you want to do that? And you're just like, well, instead of you wasting your time, I'll waste time there, and I'll try and qualify the buyers for you. You pay a buyer.
Yeah.
Now, take into account you've got to do a buyer brokerage agreement if you're going to work with those people. So
Yeah.
get good at that. That's the next skill you got to get really good at. Is if you're not already doing it well, get good at it.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
region and our market centers throughout the region are doing a really good job of getting out in front of all this and offering nonstop training. I know my office in Fort Myers has been doing at least one, if not two, trainings every week on it. So it's been fantastic to see the push to educate all of us on these changes, right?
Good call though. Open houses are fire. They're awesome for lead generating. They're also awesome for just getting your name out there. I know an agent that was in our office who started out the exact same way. He put open house signs up constantly, and it became like his billboard sign, because eventually they were out so much, because he didn't just do them on like Saturday or Sunday. He did them every day of the week, and he put them at prime times for people driving through in the morning, in the afternoon when they're coming back from work. They just saw his signs all the time, so he created mind share through his signs of open houses.
So
Yeah.
you know what that makes me think of, Ryan? I think there's probably a lot of agents that when I say this, they'll be like, yep, guilty. A lot of agents, in my experience, myself included, my wife included, who's an agent, right? And the agents that I've worked with in the past, they want to do open houses when it's convenient for them, not when it's the best time to get leads and traffic, because it may not be quite as convenient for what they want to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to do an open house this weekend, but I also want to go to the beach at such and such a time, so I'm going to do it, these 2 hours or whatever, and it may not be the best time. Like you said, what are the high traffic times? Maybe if it's in a busy area, 5 to 7 p.m. when everybody's leaving to go home, whatever the case may be.
You may be better off doing 5 to 7 Monday through Friday than
Yeah.
doing Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 2.
Right. Because when you're at the beach, all those people that would be at your open house are at the beach too.
Not to say you shouldn't do 12 to 2 on Saturday and Sunday. It's, you're probably going to get quality conversations during that time.
Yep.
I mean, if they're willing to stop on their way home, they've been at work all day long, the chances are they're probably a little more motivated than the person who's just a looky-loo on the weekend.
Well, and that's when you're going to catch them too, right? That it's probably fresh on their mind because if they're looking for a house, they haven't actually been doing their work all day. They've been on the Zillow app or whatever, looking at houses all day.
All right, we got any questions that have popped up?
No.
Let's see. You guys are quiet today, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. So we just talked about how to get started with lead generation. We give you guys a ton of ideas. You guys, I mean, Peter and Brett just were dropping them there. What training and opportunities does KW offer? So I want to kind of make sure. I thought this was a really good question just because I think that a lot of people come into this company and don't realize how much we do offer and how much is available. So let's just kind of quickly go through what is available for everybody and resources that are available for them to go to.
Yeah, so Bold and Ignite, the two Market Center run courses, so when you get your real estate license, and make sure I get this right, within the first 2 years, you have to do your post licensing, right? Which I think is 45 hours.
Right.
And Ignite in our market center anyway qualifies for that 45 hours.
In a lot of our market centers.
Yeah. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? You're getting that out of the way, which is a compulsory state. This is for Florida. I don't know about other states, but for Florida, that's required. So those two courses are kind of like the must-do courses. One of them is to literally.
Before you go, Peter, just as a FYI, if you are a new agent, what Peter's saying, don't wait until it's year 2 at the end of the time to go do that, because a lot of what you learn in that class is what will get your business going. And what you're going to find is you're going to start doing that class at the end of year 2 and like, man, I wish I would have known this 2 years ago. So just immediately start it.
With
you don't have to wait 2 years to do your 2-year licensing. You can do it day one, right?
There's
a lot of them that do.
Yeah.
The advantage with Ignite and getting your post licensing credit is the fact that it's real on the job training in the Keller Williams systems and models. Whereas when you take the post 45 through a regular real estate school or something, it's a lot more of just in the book stuff. Like you're not getting as many practical principles of on the job training like you are in Ignite.
Yeah. Things like draw a mansard roof. Okay. That's really going to help me. Yeah. So yeah, Ignite is definitely a must, and most market centers are running them. I believe that it should be done as early as possible in your career, and again. There's no problem with redoing it, which you can do. Bold, again, I did Bold before I joined Keller Williams. I did it as a.
I don't think I ever
guest.
knew that, Peter.
Yeah, I did it as a guest in Brevard County.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I mean, to be honest with you, that's what got me interested in Keller Williams. It was a very, very, very good training. And they invited anybody to come to it from other, because I guess they used it.
Clearly, they didn't invite anybody.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Brett. Very kind. So, yeah, they're there. Then, so each market center's owned independently and has different resources. So I can only talk from what we offer. So we have a training calendar, and most market centers will have a training calendar, and make sure you've got access to it. And it will have, well, ours has multi-training events every single day. There is always something going on, you know, that's been led by the MCA, led by the MCTT, led by the ATL, the team leader, external trainings, guest trainers that are brought in. There's all sorts of, you know, well, Mark Willis said it yesterday on the call. We're a coaching and technology company. So
coaching and consulting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to plug a couple of our MCTTs that are doing a fantastic job. Errol Hernandez, probably 2-3 years ago at this point, created a boot camp for Command that is absolutely phenomenal. And then he shared a lot of that with us, and Sarah Perez kind of took some of that and installed her version of it in her market center. So I mean, if you're getting started, those boot camps are a great way to learn command and learn why. I mean, it's business building, right? It's not technology. I know a lot of times agents feel like they're getting command forced down their throat. It's the importance of the fact that it is a tool that saves you time and money, because it is very affordable when you consider the other options that are out there and what command does. But it's a tool to build and grow your business, to launch, build, and grow your business. That's really all it's about.
You also have out there this thing in command called Connect. If you go to Connect, there's tons of training and resources in there. I would highly suggest you check that place. You also have, like I said before, ideas.kb.com, and you have answers.kb.com. If you go to Answers, you can find pretty much almost anything you're looking for in there. And very soon on the horizon, we also have a chatbot that's about to be launched. It'll have a lot of the same information that populates. So make sure that you are utilizing those areas. I know some of you guys maybe been here for a while and you've got the old intranets. I would focus more on Connect, because eventually those intranets will be starting to disappear. But everything will be within command right here in Connect.
Yeah. So there's a funny little symbol in the corner of Brett's screen. I don't know what that is. Bottom corner down there.
Oh, look at that. AI. It's the magic AI icon.
So there goes our NDA.
Brett's in labs, so he's testing stuff. So
I'm not clicking on it. All you see is a little picture.
Just making sure people know why that's there. They don't go and look for it on their side.
Coming soon.
Right.
What the good news is, that means that it's very close to being there for everybody.
Yeah. So these are the guides. They're written very clearly. They're very well. I mean, they could sell these for a fortune. It's amazing that they give them away free, right?
Yeah.
So a playbook, which is a step-by-step model for creating the particular topic. So how to manage your contacts, how to manage your database. If you're using an internal sales agent, how you hire them, how you train them, how you manage them. The open house playbooks in there, they're just, it's all written out for us. It's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
This one's big right here, right? The K-Score operations manual. And then I actually got my hard copy of this at family reunion this year. So
yeah, I bought it.
Agent playbook.
I bought it. It's $20, I think.
Yep.
And it's just packed with amazing information. Again, you've got to apply that one thing strategy. You've got to pick one thing and focus on it and not try to do too much, because it's like, you know, a new agent coming into any brokerage is going to be shown all sorts of different strategies. You've got to find what resonates with you, and one good way of doing that is to go through these playbooks, and you'll quickly learn what's appealing to your personality and style, and could be a way to go forward. Newsletters. I'm a big proponent of newsletters. It's a great way of staying top of mind. And again, we were talking about sponsorships and also vendors. If you go to a vendor and say, hey, I want to interview and highlight you in my newsletter that goes out monthly, you're going to build a relationship with that person for referrals. So use your newsletter. There isn't a video playbook, is there?
There's videos down here.
Social media. I think it's social media.
I mean, about actually using YouTube and video. I don't think
it's social media.
Social media
right
playbook. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Guys, just real quick, while he's showing you all this, please don't go in here and start like saying you have to master every one of these right now. That's not the point. Go pick one of these and get really good at it. And until you've mastered it, don't try to go into something else unless you choose to do seminars and you decide after doing a few seminars that you hate doing it, which to me is silly.
Well, if you start doing it,
you get it down to a science, you can leverage that to somebody else and then go do something you actually enjoy.
Yeah. It's the shiny object syndrome that we all suffer from. Like you'll see somebody doing something, I need to do that, and I need to do that. But like when we were listening to the guests on the call today, all of them have persisted for a long time to achieve what they're achieving. They've been very single-minded and focused on their objective, and like their vision boards, their business plans, their short-term goals, their long-term goals, but they're all sticking with one thing, which is their particular strategy. So you become expert at that strategy, and it's really easy to flit around and do one thing for a little bit and say, oh, that doesn't work. Open houses are garbage. No one turns up, and then quit that. And then no one comes to floor time. Nobody does this. My seminar was useless, right? So if you don't do something well for long enough, you're never going to get value out of anything.
No, most people quit right before the success happens.
Yes.
That reminds me of that image they show in bold of the guy with the pickaxe going through and chopping through, trying to find the diamonds, and he doesn't make it, he quits and turns around. The other guy keeps going, and there's a huge thing of diamonds there on the other side. Just keep going.
Exactly.
Don't stop. Be consistent.
Ryan, I'm glad that you said that about, there's so many different options to lead generate. Find what you think you're going to be happy with. If you're not going to be happy with it, pivot, go find something else. Yes. But you do have to give it some time to get traction, be consistent with it. Like Barkley said, 100 door knocks for one lead was not, that was not the probability he wanted to play. And I don't know many agents that are willing to play that probability. However, door knocking does work for a lot of agents. And there's
some people think of it as
enjoy it.
2 for 1. They get exercise and they get to go socialize with people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you killed me on the first one there, exercise. It doesn't sound like that's in my wheelhouse. So. But I love video and social media, know, and like Peter was talking about before, open houses are a great way for a new agent to get started. So is social media and video. It's free.
I'll tell you one that was just out there. One that most people aren't doing, and I know this because last year we did a Take Command on it, and I searched high and low to find people who are doing it, and barely anybody was doing it, is seminars. And it's so easy. If you just get that template in place and just follow it over and over and over, it's just repeat. Even in this lead generation, you could do seminars for lead generation. Teach people, like he was saying, he was teaching for sell by owners how to sell it themselves. Do the same thing. Teach people how to sell it themselves, and then they're like, "I don't want to do all this."
Well, the other
I'll
thing
do it for you.
So, I'll tell you a story about how I built my business in England before 2008, because obviously 2008 came along and it hurt. But what we did was me and my business partner Simon, we would every month hold a seminar in a luxurious hotel. We would hire a room, we'd pay for coffee and cookies and stuff, not meals, nothing too expensive, but we always did a nice venue. And we would invite a guest speaker on estate planning, on real estate taxes, on wills, trusts, that kind of, money management related topic. And we as real estate agents would be positioning ourselves as having the right people around us to serve you holistically with your real estate transactions, making sure that the way that you hold your properties is tax efficient. It's because it might not be the same in America, but in England, you probably do in America, you have to protect your assets. There's no homestead. Yeah. So the way you hold your property. So for instance, if you get to 80 years of age and end up in a long-term care facility, they'll just take your house, right? So we had strategies you have to plan 7 years ahead, and you have to put your house into a trust. And after 7 years, it falls outside your estate and is protected. So we would get an estate planner to be a guest speaker, and we would talk about real estate and mortgages and the market. Then the guest speaker would talk. I'm telling you, the amount of business that we got from those seminars was unreal. It was fantastic.
So that
seminars are great.
That specific topic, Peter, I was thinking about this as you were saying it, so it's funny how it all came together. Olga actually said, I need ideas for brunch seminars, and I'm thinking, okay, Mother's Day brunch. And yeah, you could do an estate planning seminar on Mother's Day as a Mother's Day brunch, right? For our parents who are getting older and need estate planning, and then you can bring in an estate planner and do all that.
Yeah. So we're not giving the advice. right? We're not
Right.
stepping outside of our
We're bringing in
license.
a professional.
We bring a pro in. The pro will do it for free because they're looking to get business, right? They want to set wills and trusts up and all that kind of stuff. You're associating with professionals. You invite other professionals and other business people and the general public. And what we used to do was send out a mailer around the hotel, like a driving distance of 5 miles. And honestly, people just wanted to get out of the house and just mingle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pack rooms with people, pack them.
If it's not hotels, think of, you may not want to do a big one. You may want to do a more intimate one. It just depends on what it is. There's many different ways that you can do it. So don't think that you have to go spend a bunch of money too. Well, first of all, some of these vendors might pay to come be part of it because it's part of their advertising. So they'll do an MSA with you. You
But
can also do it pretty much for
honestly,
free.
The cost was minimal. I mean, you're looking at $1 a card, £1 a card, whatever it might be. You can get the data. The venues are not that expensive because the hotels are craving to get people to come in and look at the hotel. So you can hire a room. You hire by the hour. You don't hire for the day. We always did it on an evening, 7:30 on an evening for like 2 hours with a break. So it was just a phenomenal way of building relationships and getting. I don't want to call them high net worth clients, but that's what we were aiming for. Was people who had real estate investments and who had portfolios of properties, either through inheritance or through purposeful investing. Because there's a lot of people buy property and don't hold it correctly, right? They don't get the advice that they need. So an accountant, a tax planner, a financial advisor will all have an angle and a viewpoint on the best ways of holding your estate, because you know what, this litigious world that we're in, you've got to protect those assets, right? And from other forms of harm. And then how do you pass it to the next generation in the most tax efficient manner? So I know KW Wealth will have a great deal of information about this as well that you can draw upon, which kind of falls into our remit as a real estate agent. But again, we're not financial planners, so best to bring in a licensed qualified expert, and they'll bring their own crowd as well. And then you're getting new people to come into your world. So
I went to a session on this topic at either Mega Camp or Family Reunion last year. I can't remember what it was. And they were brilliant on the topic because they were talking about that this is their lead generation. I can't remember the team's name, but they did it every single week. 1 week they would do it in person, the next week they would do it online, and they just rotated it every week. So they had one each and every week. What they said they did, and I like this idea, was they went to the library, their local library, and those local libraries usually have a room that they're always trying to get somebody to use. So if they went in there, and one of the benefits of that was there was no alcohol allowed in the library, which means you don't have to worry about that as a liability, and you also don't have to look at that as a cost. So they made it so that people felt like that was not a hostile environment, like they weren't being tricked into something. Like you're not going to a seminar on I know some people probably think, oh, I'm going to have to go there to learn how to get one of those timeshare rentals or something like that. It's not like that. You're going to a library where you're going to go learn something about estate planning or something like that, and you're going to have a lot of that clientele already there.
Yeah, there's different approaches to it all. But going back to real estate, especially homestead. So you can only homestead the property that you declare as your prime residence.
Your primary,
right? So once you start investing, you can't homestead those properties. And homestead protects you from lawsuits and bankruptcies and all sorts of other things. There's benefits to homestead. Now, I'm not going to get into advising on that. I'm just saying there are knowledgeable people who will give us that information. So a real estate lawyer would be a very good person to bring in, an estate planner from like Edward Jones or whoever. You've got to name 3 people. These different companies that are out there. Northwest and all these other mutuals, they're all craving for clients, right? And they'll give their time and they'll pay towards the cost of the venue to get in front of people to talk about their business. Now you got to get you got to interview them. You got to make sure they're not just got commission breath all over them and they're not it's going to pile into your audience. So you've got to get like-minded people through that network. But offering those, it's thinking outside the box. So owning real estate is great, but what risk does it present, and how can you mitigate those risks. So those events are very good at attracting the type of clients that you want to work with, because they're buying and selling real estate. So, and the fact that you bring those services to them and make them aware of something they previously didn't know, or they did know and didn't know how to solve, it's such a high value proposition that they migrate to you. So we back in the day when I was doing this, we used that type of holistic financial planning along with real estate to create the kind of environment to bring in the sort of clients that we wanted to attract. So it again, everyone's different. You've all got different motivations, and there's different reasons. Like, you can do first-time home buyer seminars. You can talk about how people can get on the ladder. I mean, I saw today, there was a post this morning that this generation feels forgotten and unable to get onto the housing ladder.
Mhm.
And, I can see that. House prices compared to wages, it's tough. So there are strategies for that. There are first-time homebuyer programs. There's different grants that come from the state. There's ways to get interest rates bought down by the seller or by builders. So there's a whole topic that we can help first-time homebuyers to get into the market. That's another seminar idea, right? Another way of getting people together.
The
So
key
it
is
doesn't
you
have
don't have to do it all.
Yeah. So pick your market. I mean, Olga said there that her clients, because she works in nursing, is geriatric population, former patients, and they're thinking about assisted living. Well, assisted living obviously has cost, right? So you've got to think about your estate.
Big costs.
So yes, yeah.
I love how she is thinking about the two things that she does and how she can
Tie them together.
build her real estate business off the other one, right?
Yeah.
I love how she's interacting with our seminar.
Yeah,
that we're
she
doing right
has
now.
been fantastic in our chat.
Thank
We
you, Olga.
appreciate
We didn't
you,
pay her,
Olga.
by the way.
Yeah.
Peter's
So-
still doing seminars.
We need to wrap up in a minute. For anybody who's still watching, which we're very grateful that you're there, right now, Value Squared is starting with Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, and Jason Abrams. It's an absolute must. We need to get on that call, right?
Yep.
So, cool.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So that's what we will
Thank
do.
you all for coming. Just
Thank
so you
you,
know,
everybody, for being here.
this is recorded. It's on our YouTube channel. It'll be there. It is also on our Facebook page. So if you're watching from there, you can watch it there. And we will have it cut up and put onto our website here within the next several days. So keep an eye on that.
Awesome.
Thank you to these two right here for stepping in and picking up this call today. They're masters. So appreciate it.
You're very welcome, sir. Absolutely. Anything we can do for you, because you are traveling to pour into your MCTTs. So
We're all pouring in today. That's all we're doing. We're not
That's
here
right.
to get anything out of this. We're just here to give. Servant's heart. So see you guys later. Go listen to some people who are really smart.
awesome. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Olga. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.